yesterday it was snowing really hard when I was driving to Xanthi, but it wasn't sticking because it wasn't quite cold enough. And then supposedly now it's really coming down, but it was coming down really hard when I was driving, but it wasn't sticking enough. I mean, nothing was icy and it wasn't, you know, by the road was starting to get white and stuff, but not on the road.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
Yeah, it's so, you know, it's supposed to come through like tonight and tomorrow, I think. And there's a lot of places in Greece.
Monday night through Athens.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I should go home before then.
I
No,
think
stay up there.
you're gonna get it here.
Maybe I should go back to Nutbuckers. So, all right.
Oh, I made an appointment for Monday afternoon, so you can't leave.
Huh? You made an appointment?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
With Vasilis.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes. No, I can't leave. Maybe I'll stay. We have somebody who's a new friend of ours, John from Italy. He's in Milano, and John is the leader of Eftychia Adopt, and he's writing an article for us that I can post on our site, and we're going to try to collaborate as we can. There were just as many Italian adoptees that were adopted during the same time period that those of us in the 50s and 60s were adopted too. So, and I had no idea until I met John that had occurred. So it's a pretty amazing thing. And the Italian adoptees and we Greek adoptees have a lot in common. So I think that's pretty awesome. I wanted to let you guys know, and we are going to post whatever John writes up for us on the Eftychia Project, so we can let everybody know that this has happened, that we all, you know, we share something in common. So
yep.
It's really pretty cool. John and I were actually on a phone call together to the ISS America, the International Social Service, because, you know, they've been charged. They at one point charged people a lot more, but they're charging $250 to get records. And that's ridiculous. That's like highway robbery. That's your own records, $250. So we, John and I and Linnell Long, who's the head of the International Intercountry Adoptee Voices, we talked to the lady in charge, and she was just basically not even interested, was she, John?
Nope, not at all. Sorry to say.
Yeah, she was not at all interested. All she cared about was the bottom line. Someone has to pay for these records. And the worst part of it is like, they charge that much money and do very little for it. They also have all of their records housed for free at the University of Minnesota, and the University of Minnesota pays for someone to look after those records, and yet they charge you $250. And we asked them, well, what are you doing for the $250? I mean, you know, $50 you might concede where they really should be free to all of us, because we shouldn't have to pay for those. But we ask what they're doing, and what they're doing is they have to get the records from Minnesota. They have the originals sent to them from Minnesota. They look at them, then they redact them. And we ask, well, what are you redacting? They're redacting the names of all the professional people involved. So to protect the social workers, to protect the judges, to protect the lawyers. So even if there was fraud involved in your adoption, they're trying to keep you from doing anything about it.
Yeah,
so
it's a big cover-up. And we're paying for the big cover-up, and we're paying for the cover-up.
Yeah, exactly. So then after they get the originals sent to them FedEx from Minnesota, they send them to Baltimore. Then after they redact everything, they send the originals back to Minnesota. It's the most inefficient thing I've ever seen. And how much money are they doing this? I mean, how much money are they wasting doing this? It's ridiculous. So
Wait a
John
minute.
and I met right before that. We talked a bit, and that's what they're doing. And so we are trying to see if we can get them to reduce a fee for somebody. So far, I haven't had any luck. Even though this person lives below the poverty level, it's ridiculous. They should do it for free. And she even admitted that there's so few of us inter-country adoptees that there's not a very big number of us. So it wouldn't hurt them to do. And when I mentioned that this was a humanitarian issue, her answer was, oh, we do humanitarian stuff. We sent food when there were floods in Guatemala, which had nothing to do with what we were talking about. But anyway, that was their attitude. So thankfully, the ISS in Greece, if you came through the ISS, you can get your records from them for free, and they're quite helpful. So
Mhm.
that's where I've been sending everybody, is to our contacts at the ISS to talk to them if they need records. So welcome to today. I think some people may have a little trouble getting into everything because they may not realize they might need the passcode. Some people needed a passcode to get in. Some people didn't. But I did.
So Linda, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Linda?
Uh-huh.
So I haven't done my ISS form yet. So should I go through Greece versus going through New York or wherever in the
Yes.
States?
So let me, because I forgot you went through the ISS and I forgot about you doing the form. Let me contact my contact there at the ISS in Greece and let her look first to see if she has a complete file for you, because sometimes they look for files and they don't have them, but most of the time they do. If she has the file, I'll put you guys in direct contact and you can talk to them about getting your file and all of that. But let's have one first, because sometimes you know, they get messed up or they did get lost, or there might be something.
I just hadn't done it yet, so
yeah.
when you
Well,
mentioned
the best thing, don't bother, because they're going to ask you for $250, and that's just ridiculous.
Right.
So, and I explained that to the
which
lady.
I would do, but if I can get, but I would pay the $250 unless there's something I can get from Greece for nothing.
Well, you can get it for free from Greece. There's no reason to pay $250. That's exorbitant. It's ridiculous amount of money.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So Linda, real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I find it interesting that they admit that they will redact information so as to protect people.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that right there in of itself tells me that there, and maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, which I'm really not, but in my journey of this whole adoption thing, I'll tell you, I put nothing past people. And I'm just wondering, I wonder with the Greek ones, now I'm going out on a limb here, because I always get asked, was a HEPA part of your adoption? And I'm wondering if they are protecting people from that.
Well, a HEPA is not going to tell us anything, because
of course not.
they generally just blow everybody off that writes them a letter even. They don't answer. Or if you ever get a hold of somebody, oh, it was only Scopus. He's the only one who was involved. Don't worry about it. You know, like, and we don't have any records and we don't know anything. That's their standard line for whatever they say. So at least the ISS has been super cooperative in Greece. And as far as I know, they don't redact stuff. They actually, the lady that we talk to all the time there asked me, she said, so do you guys get free counseling and stuff in America because you're adopted? Like, no. You don't get any of that. And so she said, well, she said, we, you know, offer services to adoptees. And she said, if any for free, and if anybody needs, you know, help or any counseling or any help facilitating their reunion, because ISS, since they have so many contacts with the social services and stuff, they will help you find your birth mother. Actually, they will usually try to send a note to the social workers in that area where she came from, because they generally know this stuff from ISS. They usually have much more detailed records, not necessarily for everybody, but especially for the ones that came from Mithera. They know almost everything about those people, where they're from, what their profession was, how many kids they had, you know, if they were unmarried, whatever. So they do, ISS does a good job of doing that, of helping people. They're a little slow because they only have like 3 people in their office. So sometimes it's a little slow to get things from them. It may take a little while, but at least you're getting somebody who actually wants to help you and is giving you your records for free. And they're telling you, you know, helping you find your birth parents if that information is in their file. So yeah, the whole we're protecting all these people is just getting really old, really old.
I think I can provide a little perspective on that, the ISS in the US as opposed to the ISS in Greece, because I've dealt with both of them. Back in 2011, I guess it was, when I first started my whole journey, I contacted the ISS in the United States, and I got my record. And at the time, again, 2011, cost me $100. So in 10 years, they've, you know, that's 50% more or whatever, which is ludicrous. Of course, I was willing to pay the $100, and I got myself a nice 3/4 inch thick file. Then when I went to Greece in 2016, I went to the ISS offices in Athens and spent a good deal of time there talking with them, made arrangements in advance to get my file from them. It was a much smaller file. It was only the stuff they had, which I think partially included everything that they would have had communication with the ISS in the US, plus anything else that my name happened to be on from all of their records, which was really pretty interesting. And yes, the US redacted a lot of stuff, which is kind of ludicrous because I had some records that my folks had kept, not a lot, just communications back and forth of the whole adoption process, where clearly the names were on there on my records, and of course they redacted them on theirs. But nothing was redacted, like Linda Carroll said, on records from Greece. They're not worried about it. And I think the ISS US is really trying to protect themselves from the potential of any legal action of any kind. I mean, if they let somebody's name through and the family don't like it or the person don't like it and they decide to sue, and for whatever reason, and I couldn't see the dynamics of it, but you know, companies, businesses, entities, they're paranoid of being sued, and I think take precautions that are extreme at times. But I throw that out there anyway, just to give you an idea about the differences between the two. It was so much better working with the ISS in Greece. It was a really neat experience. It's just two tiny offices just out in the middle of nowhere. I say nowhere. I mean, it was obviously in Athens, but not in what you would think to be a prestigious, if you will, place, you know, just a plain old narrow street somewhere. It was pretty interesting. And of course, when I was there, I can you give me copies of it? Yeah, we can do that. And then I went on and had my Greek vacation for about 4 weeks. And I got back to the States and I was like, oh crap, I forgot my file. So I had to actually write her and say, hey, remember me? And they ended up scanning it all and sending it to me by email, which was a good thing. They went above and beyond really what they needed to do. I was real pleased with everything from them.
Well, and I think speaking to the difference in the sizes of the files is because for those people that weren't adopted from the ISS, most of the ISS adoptions were finalized in the United States and not in Greece. So
Right.
Some people, and this is the caveat here, some of the people from the ISS do have maybe 1 or 2 Greek court papers, but not everybody does. Merrill doesn't have any Greek court papers at all. So, right, Merrill, if I'm remembering right?
No, I actually do. I had
you have
3
some.
papers.
Okay.
Yeah, I had
some
my
people
birth
don't.
registration. Right. I had my birth registration. I had a document that, and this was required by the Child Services in St. Louis County, a statement saying that I was in fact an orphan, and then a statement, and these both came from the Patras Orphanage, a statement saying that it was okay for me to be adopted, that they approved of the adoption. So I had 3 things like that. The most important being the birth registration, because that's told what, in theory, is the kind of my early history, if you will, and how I came to be where I was. So
But what I was specifically referring to, yeah, I know you have some, I'm talking about the
Yeah.
specific, like from the court of the first instance, like the
Oh, no, no,
petition
no.
and the other stuff. Nobody, a lot of people from ISS don't have those because their adoptions were finalized in the U.S. in a court in a U.S. court because they were shuttled through the ISS in America. So, but occasionally, some people from that were adopted through the ISS will have court papers at the court of the first instance in Athens. So it's worth the shot trying to get those if they exist. You just don't know if they do or not till you try. And I believe Stephanie Pizzolis, I know she has some papers from the Greek court, but also from the U.S. court. But then again, other people don't have both sets. They only have the
I have
US.
nothing from Greeks at all. Everything's American on my
Mhm.
documentation.
Well, and that's the thing. Maybe in the ISS file in Greece, there may be something else that's different. You may not,
Mhm.
you
Right.
may or may not have, because some people have taken their POAs to the court and they don't have any to the archives, to the general archives, and they don't have any records for the ISS kids. 90% of them don't have anything in the Greek court at all. It's all in the U.S. court. So.
Right.
So the ISS, that's one thing. That's one way. That's part of searching. Actually, that's one of the things you can do. But let me put on my glasses so I can see. That would help at first. And let me share my screen and bring up my presentation here. All right. So welcome to Greek Adoptee Conversation Session 3, the search for roots and reunion. And we're going to talk a little bit about a few things here first, and then we're going to kind of, part of this I want to be discussion among everybody about, any questions they have about searching, any problems they have with searching, what's been their experience, what's it like when you find family, what's it like to still be searching after a long time, to express how all that, figures in. So let me go to the slideshow here if I can. Silly thing. There it is, slideshow. There we go. All right. So I need to do the other view, don't I? I don't know how to do that. Let's see.
Hold on.
I
Do
forget what
start
it is.
slideshow.
Yeah. Slideshow. From the beginning. Hi,
Yeah.
there we go. Thank you. Somebody needs to tell me because I'm technologically challenged. Sorry, I haven't done this in a while with the slides. So basically, those pictures down the bottom are like those 4 main orphanages that all of us are from. The Athens orphanage on the left, then the Patros orphanage, then Ios Tilianos, and last but not least, Mitera. We kind of went through this in one of the other things we did, just kind of to give people that don't know as much about us, that we're a 501c3 nonprofit public charity as characterized by the lovely Internal Revenue Service in America. We do all of our help is free. We don't charge anything to Greek-born adoptees. We don't ask for donations of any kind. We don't ask for money to Greek-born adoptees and Greek families, because you would not believe how many Greek families are searching for somebody. And some of these people that I've met this trip are actually searching for people they know were given up to an orphanage. Today I collected DNA in Kozani from a family who's looking for 2 twin sisters who were given up to PICPA, to the Greek social service, and then from there taken to Mitera. So they know that much, which is helpful because at least we know that. So I'm getting more and more of those. I mean, we have an awful lot of the dead baby scenario. The baby's born, it's healthy, everything's great. 3 days later, oh, I'm sorry, your baby died. There's no birth certificate, there's no death certificate. They don't get the body. It's either been cremated or put in lime, or they buried it with all the other dead babies. So there's a lot of those, but we're starting to get now people that are actually, know that a child was given up and they're looking for that family member. Or we're getting more adoptees who were actually born in Greece who didn't go to America, but were adopted from like Ios Tilianos and some of those. So I've also done DNA this morning in Xanthi before I left to go to Kozani. I did DNA with the lady who's actually adopted and wants to find her biological parents. We provide a lot of assistance and advice. Sometimes we just provide guidance, like people ask us questions about, what should I do? This is what I have. What do you think? And so we kind of look at things and figure out, well, where's the next logical step to go with all of that. Our DNA, and again, speaking of DNA, our kit distribution program is going great. We are I have, I think, at least 21 samples to collect this time, so that's a lot. And so, you know, we're having a good turn. A lot of people are beginning to know who we are here in Greece. I mean, we've had a lot of press, and a lot of the families know. And then we also advocate on behalf of all Greek-born adoptees for our birth and identity rights. And that's the huge thing right now is obviously the citizenship issue. And I'm hoping to have more really good news about that very soon, possibly next week. So we'll see what happens. And I'll, of course, keep everybody informed. We've gone over this before, but just to let people know that aren't familiar, we're not a Facebook group. We're a nonprofit organization with a Facebook page. So it's not like you can't really be a member of our group of our organization, but you don't have to be a member to ask for help or anything. We help all Greek adoptees, all Greek born adoptees. You have to be born in Greece, not your dad just happens to be Greek. And so you can like and follow our Facebook page and then keep up with the latest updates, and also our website, which is kind of it's coming along. It's operational, but we're still making some changes to it. Our scope is limited to Greek-born adoptees born in Greece who are either adopted abroad or remain in Greece, and Greek families searching for their children lost to adoption. We get an awful lot of requests of people like the examples I gave there. Great grandpa migrated to America, went back to Greece, and we lost track of grandpa. How do we find him? Well, that's we don't do that. So, but we do get that a lot. There's a lot of people. I've got an email I need to answer today that somebody's looking for lost relatives, not a lost child, not somebody who was adopted, just a lost relative that they lost track of. If you were born or adopted outside of Greece, for example, in the US, and you found out that your dad or one of your parents just happens to be Greek, and this scenario has been played out. There are multiple adoptees whose father was a Greek sailor on a ship and came to New Orleans or Chicago or some other port that they frequented, and you know that they were adopted in America, born in America, so that's not technically by our standards a Greek-born adoptee. Also, you did a DNA test, and oh my God, I found out I'm like 10% Greek. I want to find my Greek relatives. Yeah, we don't do that either. So, because we have to keep our scope narrow, because really and truly we have so many people asking for help. We couldn't possibly help all these other groups at the time. And then we always suggest things to these people that have other needs about joining the Greek genealogy groups, about contacting the Hellenic Red Cross tracing service in Greece to see if you can find them. And, you know, in some cases, maybe we'll be able to in the future expand to be able to do other things. But right now, we are so busy with our focus that we have, we just really can't do that. So a lot of people are confused about where to start or what and how we help facilitate all of that. So this is what I just want to discuss briefly with you guys, and then we're going to get into all of us hopefully discussing our individual situations and how we've all handled all of that, and any questions that anybody has. I always say, always start with what you know. You know your story, or you think you do, because like mine, I knew my story, but it turned out not to be exactly my story once I found my family. But you have a story. Sometimes your parents will be forthcoming. They'll tell you a lot, and a lot of times they don't tell you anything. Some people don't find out till they're 50 that they were adopted, or they're even Greek. So, you know, you never know. But gather everything you can that you can find related to your adoption. Any papers you have, any photographs, anything, if any of that can be helpful. You may not think so, but little things can be very helpful. Seek out any relatives that might have information. Unfortunately, there are some relatives who will take that secret to the grave with them, and they're not going to tell you anything, but it doesn't hurt to try and be persistent. You know, it's your life, it's your story. You need to find out, and you deserve to know, because your identity is a basic human right. It's your basic human right to know where you came from. Request your immigration file through the Freedom of Information Act from the U.S. government, and that's Form G639. We have in our welcome pack that we give to people who ask for help, we have the instructions for that form, we have the form, and we have a sample form to guide you in completing the form in the packet. So it's actually my form that I filled out, and the way if you will follow that one and fill it out exactly that way, you should get your complete immigration file because you want your complete one. They have really tried to force people into doing it online. The problem with the online thing is that there isn't a place to write exceptions, like things that are weird about your situation. Or I got 2 different birthdays. There's no place to put all that. If you're an adoptee, if your parent was an adoptee and they're deceased and you're trying to get their information because you're a first degree relative, there's no place to attach the obituary. You know, I mean, you gotta prove with a death certificate or obituary that you're the child. So there isn't a place for that. So we are currently in the process of determining which request method serves us best, because I'm doing mine again online just to see what's going to happen with that. I want to know if am I going to get more? Am I going to get less? Am I going to get the same? What am I going to get? And I'm curious because the only thing you can ask for that fits what we're looking for, it says they've got all these documents listed, like birth certificate, other things that are there. And if you click on any of those and then you click on alien file, all that other stuff goes away, and your birth certificate, your alien file is the only thing you can ask for. The problem with that is like, yes, theoretically, the alien file should contain a birth certificate and it should contain a naturalization certificate, but we've had adoptees that it doesn't contain any of those. So, you know, then you've got to go back all over again and go in there and see if you can ask for those separately after you get your file and find out they're not there. So that's kind of daunting. The biggest thing now is do your DNA. I still know adoptees that we've been helping that still haven't done their DNA. I'm like, just pick one and do it. And we're very pleased to announce, and I haven't made a formal announcement on Facebook, but we will soon, that we have a formal collaboration now with MyHeritage DNA. They're providing a lot of resources and support for us. And hopefully that's going to help us greatly expand our ability to get this DNA in Greece, and to expand, to let people know that we do have these kits, that we are willing and able to come and get your sample and send it off. And the more Greeks we get in the DNA pool, the better off we're going to be. And so we have these free MyHeritage DNA kits for the Greek families here in Greece, and also for Greek adoptees that have need. If you know, you're having a tough time and you don't have the money for a DNA kit, let us know. We'll see. If you do your DNA not with MyHeritage, let's say you did it with 23andMe, Ancestry, or Family Tree DNA, upload your raw data to MyHeritage for free so you can get more matches. Maybe if you didn't get a match on one of those, maybe get a close match on MyHeritage. And a lot of people, I'm really surprised, there's people that tell me they've done DNA, and then I ask them, did you upload it to MyHeritage? And they're like, no, we didn't know we could do that. So, you know, I urge everyone to upload to whatever you can. You can upload to MyHeritage from those. You can upload also to from any of the companies to GEDmatch. So I haven't gotten a lot of good stuff off of GEDmatch, but we did end up matching with a guy's half sister. So I guess it's worth it. Even if 1 out of 100 shows up with one, that's still one that found somebody. So, you know, I encourage you to do all of that. And then obtain your Greek court and orphanage records. If you have, as we said with the ISS, you may not have Greek court records at all. But anybody who wasn't adopted through the ISS should have Greek court records, including those people adopted through the HEPA. So there should be records at either the court or the first instance of Athens, which is for everybody that was in the Peloponnese and most of southern mainland Greece. And then northern Greece, anything, I don't know, probably up toward Lattice and up that direction, then those were all done in the court of the first instance in Thessaloniki. I'll just say this real quick because I'm going to forget about it. Otherwise, I talked to somebody in the court that I had actually who has become a friend, but in the court in Thessaloniki. But she had told me that they had that she was trying to find out how we could better obtain court records from the court. And now even some of the judges who don't even know the law, that we're allowed to get our records and we don't need a Greek attorney, they're all saying we have to get a Greek lawyer to get the records from the court of Thessaloniki, and that's just not true. It's not in the law anywhere. So but the Court of the First Instance in Athens, all of their records are housed at the General Archives of the State, what we call the GAC, the GAK. It's the Unica Archia Kratos with the GAK. So, and they have they have the Court of the First Instance of Athens for the adoptions up through 1969. After that, they're housed at the court archives. So if you're after 1969, that's where they'd be, at the Court of the First Instance archives. We have a limited power of attorney document, instructions how to complete it, in our welcome packet. If you want us to try to get any court records or any orphanage records or anything else like that, even your birth certificate, I have been successful a couple of times getting people's birth certificates. Not always easy, because I had to go back twice to Phidias because it was crazy, but I did manage to get that for somebody. But we can do that if you like. Sometimes it's faster because I'm here and I can bring them home and mail them to you when I come home to America. But you can do all of this yourself if you want to. The problem is like trying to, you're going to have to send them all kinds of documents to prove that you're you and that you're the adoptee and all that, and that's fine. You can do it, but we're happy to do it when we're here. So if you want us to, that's fine. But these are the things that you guys can do. And this is what we do. We help facilitate it in this way. So you've started, so you've done your DNA and you requested your documents. Now what are you going to do? One thing that Meryl's a whiz at is searching the immigration, travel, and naturalization records on ancestry.com. Because when I can't find something, I call Meryl, help me. So he has ways of searching sometimes that I didn't think about. But he's done it so much, he's developed all these ways of doing it. So he's really a whiz. So if any of you guys have asked me for help or asked anybody from the Eftychia Project, Stephanie or any of us, if we can't find something, we always ask Meryl. If he can't find it, it's probably not on there. There's things on ancestry.com like travel manifest and your arrival cards when you arrived in the United States, naturalization petitions, naturalization indexes. What else, Meryl? What else is on there that's useful for us?
Oh, sometimes even records of their city directories and that kinds of stuff that can maybe fill in blanks or something like that. Most of the important stuff is what you're talking about. Certainly things like petitions are most important, but not every state allows those to be listed, I guess is the way to put it. Or they have restrictions on what years. For example, my petition comes from Missouri, right? So Missouri's petitions are only on there through, I think, 1944. So mine never shows up. State like California, they allow theirs up through either 91 or 95. And
Texas
there's a lot there.
Similar, right? Texas is similar too. They have quite a few.
Yeah, Texas, if you're through Texas, there's a good chance a copy of your petition is going to be there. And that can give you information that maybe you don't know about. Fortunately for me, there was the handwritten copy when my dad filled it out, okay, in my files. So I had the information there already, which is good, obviously. So
the other thing I forgot to mention was when you apply for your immigration records, the best thing to get you what you need is your alien registration number or your A number. And unfortunately, some people don't have that. It is on the naturalization petition, usually down in the bottom left-hand corner. Occasionally, it's on your naturalization certificate. Sometimes it's on the back. Some people, I think, have had it on the front, but it's not consistent because a lot of people, mine's not, I think somebody hand wrote mine on the back of my naturalization certificate, but it's not on everybody's. So if you don't have it, then the naturalization petition, hopefully, if you can't find it anywhere, like you can't find it on anything, you don't have the little green card they gave little kids when they came here, as being aliens with your number on it. When you get your immigration file, your naturalization petition is often in there. Not always, but most of the time. If it is, you can get it there. And that's good. But the problem is you had to have it to get your immigration file most of the time. It's difficult to get it without that A number because that's very easy for them when they have the A number. If they don't, it depends on the goodwill of the person that got your request to actually look for stuff. So sometimes it's difficult to pull all that together and give you all your complete file if you don't have the A number. Am I
Linda,
missing
I had a
anything?
question.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had a question either for you or for Meryl. On the arrival records, what type of visa code or symbol do you have on the arrival records? Like a K2, an M4, a 2F? What visa code do you have?
I have a K1, I think, if I remember right.
Other people as well?
What's everybody else got? Does anybody remember?
An arrival record?
On the arrival card, like from the airline you came on, usually there's it's a card that you can find on Ancestry.
There's two things you can find, and it depends on the airline and I think the time frame.
Mhm.
I searched, this was before I even started my search. I just got a wild hair one day and typed my Greek name into Ancestry and came up with the flight manifest that I flew on. It was the whole pages, 4 pages on flying tigers.
Mhm.
Linda Carroll, if you look her up there, her record's going to come up on a single arrival card. So there's two different forms that you can find this on. Certainly, I know on the arrival card, I think I've seen like a K2 on some of them. I'm only going by memory.
I think maybe mine was K2. I can't remember. But
Yeah, yeah.
K something. And it's for a permanent resident. It's a permanent resident in status. Right, Meryl? Is that what it usually says? K something permanent resident? Something like that.
I don't know if it says that. Certainly, I've seen that kind of designation on there. I don't know that I knew necessarily what it was for, because quite honestly, I didn't worry about it. What I was looking at was, what kind of time frame are we talking about? What's the date, of arrival and all of that kinds of stuff. I would imagine all of us that have the arrival cards would have that same code on it, whatever it is.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
I think most of us, John, have the same, but there's some I know I've seen different ones. They're not always like K1 or K2. There are other ones I've seen too.
Yeah, it's really depends on the time of your arrival into the United States because there were different immigration laws that were in effect depending on the time interval. So I have a table that has all the arrival codes for the different time intervals. If you're interested, I can share it with you, so you know exactly what immigration record and what immigration law you came in under, because all of us came in as aliens in a non-quota status, and we were assigned visa codes to get into the States. And that's important. I'll explain later why.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we'd love to have you share that with us.
Okay.
Send me
I got
a
a
copy.
question. I got a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got my
Okay.
documents
sorry.
here. And I'm looking at my passport from Greece, and me knowing from traveling,
You'll have a
Wouldn't
visa
it-
stamp on it with the same immigration code.
there isn't one.
When you arrive in New York or wherever you arrived into the United States, there should be an immigration stamp with an immigration code, either a K2, a K1, an IR4, a 2F, or whatever.
Oh, IR-3.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know this.
There, that's it.
I just ignored it because I always, because my search was always on the Greek side. I didn't bother with the American side.
Yeah,
But that's
there's a lot-
interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot you can gather from the American side. We found out from Italy anyway, we can get much more information from the American side than from the Italian side, or in your case, from the Greek side. So I'll explain more about that some other time if you're interested.
Well, hold on one second. So I'm sorry to take, okay, I arrived April 5th, 72. And it has the IR3. And then, believe it or not, I'm looking at my naturalization paper. It has the exact same alien registration number.
It has to.
Is that Is that typical?
Everybody has an A file number and it's unique. And it starts with
Okay.
an A with 2 digits, 3 digits, 3 digits. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you
Okay.
came in the 50s, it was an A08. If you came in the 60s, it was an A11 or A12, A13, depending when you came into the United States. They're all sequential. So it's very easy if you have an A number to know when that kid came in or when he
Okay.
left. Okay.
Cool.
Alrighty.
Sorry to
That's
interrupt.
that's what I love about doing these things. We all talk to each other. We all learn stuff every time that we do it. Tula has raised her hand. You got a question, Tula? Unmute yourself. Unmute.
There you go.
Okay, here I am.
Okay.
I
there you
got a question for our Italian friend. I didn't catch his name.
John.
What is it?
John Campitelli.
John.
Mhm.
How many has there been some kind of search of how many Italians were adopted at those years as us?
Yes,
Because
between
we know,
19 between
we know
1950
there's around 3,500 to 4,000
Yeah,
adopted.
we have all the names of all 3,755 children that emigrated between 1950 and 1970. So we know exactly how many and who they are and where they went.
Did you have a dead baby scam?
Yes, we sure did.
Okay.
That's why DNA is important for us.
Because it seems here it's getting to be bigger, a biggest number than the ones that were from unwed mothers or whatever in Greece. It's becoming huge, and Eftychia can tell you all that she's getting a lot of inquests from here on the dead baby scam. I think she did say something about that earlier.
Yeah,
she did.
it's huge. I believe that it's way more children than we ever thought, because it almost seems to affect every family in Greece. The people that tell me, I've been overwhelmed by how many people are coming to us and like, DNA is our only hope, which is true, because they have no papers, they have no right to get any. And if you have a dead baby scam, you don't know where to you wouldn't even know where to look, so that's there can't be, like I said, that many kids could not have died. There's just no way. So yeah, that thing we have huge numbers of people now, and that's it's getting more and more. So my guess is there's thousands of those as well, and some may have ended up in the US. A lot probably ended up here in Greece. It's just incredible. I've been overwhelmed talking to all these families that have this happen. So
yeah, what we're getting also, just so you know, is many people from South America, from Peru, from Chile, from Brazil, that have Brazilian, Chilean, Peruvian birth certificates, and then we find out they're all falsified. They were actually born here in Italy. So
I think there's some Greek ones that way too, but because there's some people that end up in like Argentina or Brazil, and they got Greek roots, like they're half Greek or something, or they're fully Greek, and they can't figure out how they got that way, So that probably is true too.
DNA is uncovering all these cases because they take a DNA test and they see that they're 100% Italian. They say, how can that be? I was born in Peru with Peruvian parents.
John, do Italians do DNA as
Not
much
very
as?
much. We're starting to now. It's not as big as it is in the States, of course, but we're getting there, and it's.
Well, we're getting there thanks to Eftychia Project, because before then nobody did.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the Italians aren't as afraid of as the Greeks are, that somebody gets the DNA and they're going to do all sorts of weird things with it, because that's what my cousin says.
They are.
That she won't do the DNA because what are they going to do with all the information?
Yeah, well, Greece, Italy, we're all European countries. We're all part of the GDPR legislation, which controls access to personal private information that cannot leave the European Union. So of course we're scared when you take a DNA test and it ends up in a lab in Dallas or in Israel or somewhere else. Okay, so there's a lot of pushback among Italians, of course, and I imagine in Greece as well, to take DNA tests when that information is going to end up in a database somewhere outside of the European Union.
Yeah,
Yes,
well, they're all afraid the CIA is going to do something with their DNA. So
right. I just tell
I'm gonna say, I heard the CIA does this and this and this, and I'm like, no, that's just
I
not.
just tell them I can go dumpster diving and get their DNA tomorrow and do whatever I want with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That
That's
kind of
true.
alleviates them their fear.
That's true.
My biological cousin is threatening to fly to Greece to go meet with my potential biological sister and have dinner with her and go to her bathroom and take a clump of her hair because she won't do the DNA test.
Well, hair follicles are not the best DNA sample, but
Yeah.
good luck.
No, I know.
No, we need spit or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah. So manifest cards, all of that are important. People that came on KLM, as Meryl was saying, they're individual cards that we have. But if you scroll back through those cards, you'll get to the first couple of pages, which is the declaration of the flight. There's actually a card for
Right.
the flight, and then there's the declaration for the flight. There's it says who the crew was and what the plane was, the cargo they were carrying, all that. So it's kind of interesting. So the KLM flights are the ones that all went to Texas for sure are all like that. So once you get your immigration file, go over it really carefully. A lot of people get pages redacted, like the page was withheld because of this, or this. Sometimes it's because of protecting privacy of a third party. Other times they say it's because of law enforcement, and you're like, what? So nobody really knows what that means. But appeal any pages that have been redacted, because it's not worth it to not appeal, because if you appeal and you have a good enough reason, if you give them good enough logic, in some cases, some people have been able to recover some of the redacted pages. So don't let it slide by. If they had redacted something, ask for all of it. Tell them everybody involved is probably dead. You already, you're adopted, a lot of the details, and you want your whole file. So, sometimes you might be able to be, you might be successful in getting those pages that are missing. Some pages you get in the immigration file are duplicates of things you already have, but you might find others that are important that you didn't have. I had 79 pages in mine. Yes, there were some things that were duplicates, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't have that would have been useful if I hadn't already found my family at the time I finally got the immigration file, because it took like 6 months to get it. I don't know why it took so long for mine, but it took a while. So anyway, there's going to be something in there that's probably useful that you didn't have. And then check carefully in there. There's usually, not always, but most of the time, there's an application for your visa to go over to America, and it includes applying for the alien registration number. It possibly can name a bio mom's name and where she was from, because mine had that on it, and I've seen it on several other people's as well. And a lot of people that get their files overlook that, because they're just, it's this form and there's nothing on there, and whatever. It's on there because it says mother's name and address. And my mother's name was in there broad as day. If I hadn't already found her, I would have found her that way. Hariglia Nula Stranama Nafactias. It was right there. So don't overlook that application for your visa and registration number, because it might be there. When you talk about orphanage records, they're a mixed bag depending upon the orphanage. The Brefocomio Athenon, which is the Athens Foundling Home, it is not hard to get your records from there. It might take 6 weeks or so, but it's not that hard. They have a form that you can fill out that we do a lot for people. We fill out in Greek and we request the records. In about 6 weeks, you'll get your records. And they're pretty good about giving them to you. They don't put up a fuss. They don't tell you, give you all these excuses. At Patras, the lady that runs Patras Orphanage, the social worker, insists that there were never any individual records at all for anybody that was at Patras, and everything's in the ledger. And we know that's not true, because we know people that went there in the 80s and got multiple pieces of paper that were supposedly in their files. And then they always, if you ask for a note that somebody had with them, they will tell you the contents of a note, but don't, give a copy to you or anything. So if you ask them, can we see the note? They'll take the book with them, the ledger book, then they'll go get the note and bring it back in a little plastic sleeve, which tells me that note was in some kind of file, because it wasn't in the ledger book. So everything's not in that book. And maybe one of these days, if we push hard enough, we can get someone to make them actually give people copies of their notes and anything else that may be in a file somewhere. He's had a babysitter and Iostilianos. We have multiple times emailed and called them, and they never return any calls. They don't return any emails. We have talked to the lady that's the head of orphanages and foster care at the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, who was supposedly going to start on this process to make this all centralized where it's easier to get our records. So far as I can tell, she's done zero. So we are now planning to meet with the actual minister of the ministry to talk to him about this, because sometimes the underlings won't do things unless the head guy says do this. So that's going to be something we'll have to do. The thing that both, and I meant to put PICPA down here too, and I forgot about that, but Matera Babysitter and Iostilianos are insisting that you have a Greek lawyer ask for your file, and so is PICPA now. There is nothing in the law in Greece that says you have to have a Greek lawyer. Absolutely nothing. So we found a way around that. We found a Greek lawyer who is going to be the person that's kind of the front man for requesting these records. When I'm going to write the request for anybody that's asked us to do that. I'm going to write the request in Greek. We're going to attach this letter from the Greek lawyer in Greek that says we're his client and we're the legal representative of the adoptee in Greece, and that here's all the law that says you have to give them these records, and will you please give my client those records? So we're going to see if that works. I've got several that I'm going to send off this week. I haven't had a chance to do that because I've been with the DNA thing. I had to go when the people were available. So next week I'm going to work on those and get those out, and we're going to see if having a lawyer ask for the records really makes a difference. It's supposed to, because they say that's the only thing they're scared of is Greek lawyers. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, but it's at least we, and the lawyer is doing this. He wrote the letter for us absolutely for free, didn't charge us anything because he wants to help. So we have that going. So hopefully that'll help. So any of you guys that you've asked us to get your records, that's what we're doing next week to work on those and get those out a second or third time actually for some people to see if that'll make a difference. When you get your DNA results, just, don't sweat the ethnicity ancestry estimate, because that's all they are, is estimates. People get hung up on those way too much. Relationships can be convoluted and really confusing, because like people goes, well, what's a second cousin twice removed anyway? Well, I can't tell you right off the top of my head, so I'll look at the family tree, and it's hard to remember all of that. But we can help with that, and once you get your DNA back, we try to help you with that as much as we can. Stephanie and I work with that a lot, but we need more people to do that. And we are bringing on board some volunteers that are good with genealogy and family trees, because sometimes you've got to compare family trees from various cousins and whatnot and try to put together to figure out, relationships, especially if you don't get a really super close DNA match. So we're working on that. And so if anybody wants to volunteer to help with that knows something about it, we'd love it, because we really need the help in that direction for sure. Also, the other support that we provide, we do help search for your family in Greece. The searches can, a lot of times, like if we get a name or we have DNA has led us to somebody, we're happy to try to facilitate contact between you and that family, or you and your bio mom. We do it a lot of different ways. It just depends on the situation, because everybody's case is different. The best thing we try to do is to go. We're not going to, even if I know who the biological mother is, and I know I'm 100% sure we found that person, I'm not marching up to her door and knocking on it. Not on your life. Because if you do that and they open the door and you tell them, hi, I'm here and your kid's looking for you, that's the best way to get this the door slammed in your face. It never opens again, because Greeks are kind of suspicious anyway. They want to know what you want and why you want it, and it's rude to go up to a stranger's door and knock on it. It's also rude to call somebody that you don't know. So generally, we try to work in a more subtle way that doesn't invade people's privacy. I will write letters in Greek to people if we're reasonably sure that these people may possibly be connected to you because we have some sort of documentation or something that this is your family name and this person happens to live in the same exact place your family came from and possibly they're a relative. We'll do that. Or the best approach, and this is how we feel about it, the best approach is to enlist the help of a friend or family member who knows your biological parent or your biological family, who will kind of be the go-between. And there are people that will do that. But then there's also relatives who want. There was one adoptee found his family a couple of years ago, right before COVID, that he got a second cousin. Second cousin gave him most of the information he needed. But the second cousin stopped short of contacting the family because he didn't know how the biological mother was going to feel about it. And they didn't want to mess up their relationship with her. Kind of the don't shoot the messenger mentality. That's what they have, is like, oh, I don't think I can do that. Some people will. There's also second cousins who will talk to you, tell you they'll help. And then they talk to some other relatives and the other relatives tell them to leave it alone. And then you don't hear from them anymore. So, searching isn't the easiest thing. And so, we try to facilitate that. We have people here that will help us if we need to talk to somebody completely in Greek. We have people that will help with that here that we can call if we get that connection. Once we make a connection through whatever means, then once we have talked to these people at some point, then we can make phone calls. But we try to protect everybody's privacy and to not annoy people. Because if you annoy them, if we tell somebody we ask for their help or we ask questions and then they don't want to talk to us, we don't push it because they may change their mind later. So we said, here's our card, call us if you find something or if you change your mind. Because if you push and you push too hard, that door won't open again. So that's kind of how we help with stuff like that. Then we will assist with if we help you, or you even if we didn't help you and you have you're going to have a reunion with your family, we'll help with that too if you want. I'm here so much, and I've done this for several people. People have actually stayed. Now you can stay at my house because I have a house, but I had an apartment before. I've had many adoptees stay at my apartment. One that had a reunion with her family happened to be in Eftychia, and she stayed with me for 2 weeks, and I went with her to take pictures. I was just kind of the photographer. I let her and the family do their thing because, when you're involved with your family and it's emotional, you don't even think about taking pictures. So I kind of did that. So I'm here so much. If anybody makes a reunion and they want help from me, I'll pick you up at the airport. I'll do whatever. I'm here, and I am happy to do whatever it is to help you get that reunion that you want. We also offer like ongoing post-reunion support. Basically, if you need help with translating, but the thing is that we want to help you get to the point where you don't need to get somebody every time you want to talk to family. In most cases, the younger kids, somebody speaks English in your biological family, I promise you, unless you're from some remote village where nobody does. But for the most part, there's someone who speaks English in your family, especially the younger ones. And, we like to help facilitate contact with them. We also have been taking things back and forth sometimes for people. It's expensive to send something over here because your family ends up having to pay VAT tax, the 24% added value added tax, and they have to pay a delivery fee and all this other stuff. It's 24% on the value of what you sent them. So I made that mistake the very first time I had come home from Greece after meeting my family and sent a box of stuff that probably wasn't worth $60. And they ended up having to pay 24% tax on that and a delivery fee, which was ridiculous. So if there's something that you need to send to somebody, I'm happy to take it back and forth for you. Or if they want to send you something, and because I travel around so much, I'm probably bound to go by wherever your family lives at some point. But we also support you in any way that you want, especially with these Greek adoptee conversations. It was Meryl and Teresa Sharp's idea to do this, because everybody seemed to enjoy all of us getting together and talking, because we all do share a common bond. So that's another kind of post-reunion support, or just support in general for adoptees, is so we can all talk about things and and enjoyed that. So all of us have so much to contribute. Like everybody can contribute something. And then the other thing we're doing a lot of right now is the activism and advocacy for the birth and identity rights of Greek-born adoptees. We're working on that a lot. Like I said, we had a meeting with the lady that runs the orphanage of foster care, which obviously hasn't gone as well as we thought. So we're going to work on that some more. We had that meeting November the 8th with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with the deputy minister there. We should have another meeting coming up soon that will, I hope, is going to make a huge difference for us with the citizenship issue, because they appear to be working on it. I say appear because you just never know, but they appear to be working on that with the announcement of the preparatory committee that they are supposedly going to form. So they're doing that. And then the last thing I want to say, and then we can all have a discussion about whatever. If you want to help, if you would like to help your fellow adoptees or Greek families or whatever, and you want to become an official volunteer, we'd love that, because we have a lot of people that we are trying to help, and there's only 4 of us in the board of directors, and now we're getting some more volunteers online. So if you feel so inclined, just shoot us an email. We'll send you a volunteer application and we'll take you on. So, and this just is our contact information. I think most of you probably have our contact information, or you probably wouldn't be here. So, so let me stop the old screen sharing here and get off of that. All right, now we're all back together. All right, so does anybody have any specific questions about anything? I know I kind of went through that fast, but does anybody?
I got one real quick.
Wait 1 second. Wait, hold that
Okay.
thought. Let Mary Ellen ask hers, and then I'll come back to
All
you.
right.
I would totally love for you to check for the 80th time for a birth certificate in Athens.
Okay.
I've had quite a few people tell me that I was either born at different hospitals and still have no record. However, I do have a baptismal record.
Okay.
But that does not substitute in the process of trying to apply for citizenship.
Right. So usually that's weird, because usually the baptismal record is now. Tell me, was it from? Were you from an orphanage, Mary Ellen? Because
Yes.
forgive me, I can't remember everybody's story, but
That's okay. I'm from Athens.
from the Athens, the one I was in, the municipal
Yes.
orphanage. Yes. Okay. All right.
Yes. Mhm.
So you have a baptismal certificate, but no birth certificate?
No, but that did not come with me. I've just been on this search for years and years and years prior to meeting you. And I just was lucky that I went down to the village. I've already met my biological mom, but she refuses to tell me who my biological father is.
Oh, well, that makes 2 of us.
And
Our mothers must be alike. They don't like
and a couple of gossipy villages tried to tell me who they thought my father was, but he since has passed away, sadly. But that is the village where I was baptized and got. It looks very authentic to me. I don't know. It's got all the stamps and signatures and things, but that's where I am. I'm desperately trying to get citizenship.
So so your mother, did your mother tell you you were actually born in Athens?
Yes, she was working at, I always mess up my words. She was a maid at that Hotel Grand Bretonge.
I know where you're talking about. It's right across from the Parliament.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that she would leave me at the orphanage as a day person, and she would bring the diapers and the formula. And that one day when she came back to get me, I was gone. She said I just disappeared.
So the baptismal certificate, that usually I mean, normally it's attached to the birth certificate, but is it like a long skinny thing on the side of a paper, or is it like a big paper that's a full
Well, it's a
paper?
big paper because it didn't come with me back in the 50s. This
Okay.
is something I got like
found
in
later.
the much
Okay.
later. Yeah.
Do you have
So,
from the orphanage? Do you have your records from the orphanage?
not too many. I have that 44557. I forgot the
Your
number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that, and that's pretty much it.
Have you ever asked the orphanage for your records?
I went to a place, like another gentleman said, it's always these little narrow streets. You're never in like downtown Athens.
Mhm.
And they had the orphanage record in Greek, big, huge paper that they reduced and mailed to me.
Mhm.
And nothing in there as far as they kept saying that there was no record that my mother had to have registered me.
Mhm.
And she was young. She was like maybe 18, 19 years old. But if you are born in a hospital, certainly the hospital should have a record of people who were born.
Well, yes, but then again, it's a parent's responsibility to register a child, even now. Is that right, Tula? Even now it is? Wait, unmute yourself, Tula.
Sorry. It is the right of the parents to, but also the hospital follows up on them doing it.
Now they do, but they didn't back in the day, I don't think.
No.
But it's still the parents' responsibility. So the thing I'm thinking about, Mary Ellen, is maybe it's worth trying to ask for your orphanage file, just to see what's really, if they have more than what you got, like if there's something in there that you don't have, because sometimes that orphanage keeps really pretty decent records for the most part. So
Can I ask Mary Ellen something?
sure.
Do you have your passport, Mary Ellen?
The little one that I came over with? Yes.
Okay, keep that tight. because
Okay.
You won't need to apply for a citizenship and wanting all those papers. If you have your passport, I think Eftychia is going to manage to get all of your citizenship back.
Well, I don't know
Oh,
about that. Please do not tell people.
Because I'm like,
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
the thing. That's what
Well,
we're
let me tell
doing
you,
here.
Tula's helping too. We're working on it, but we're trying to. We did get one of the government officials to admit if we have those Greek baby passports, we were Greek citizens already, and because Greece allows dual citizenship, we really didn't lose it. They just can't figure out what to do with us, how to restore it to us. Of course, I've already given them a whole paper that says, here's how you do it. Because if you leave it up to them, they'll sit around forever twiddling their thumbs trying to figure out what they need to do. So hang on to that baby passport, and you guys keep them safe, because we're trying to get them to do a procedure where if you have the baby passport, now everybody's not going to have one because some people didn't keep theirs. But Teresa's got hers. I see her holding it. If you've got that baby passport, our contention is you take that passport, the adoption decree that shows you were adopted. If you're a woman and you got married, your naturalization certificate, which a lot of times that's when somebody's name was changed. If they came over with a Greek name, they changed it at naturalization.
yes.
And then if you're a woman and got married and took your husband's name, your marriage certificate that proves that you're the person you are now, which your driver's license or your passport now would prove from America, then our contention is they should give you your citizenship and the name you have now and not charge you anything for any of this. And therefore, the proof of citizenship in Greece is the Merida, the family registration. Tula, what's the technical name of it? I can't remember.
the
The
what?
technical name of what?
Of the Merida that proves you're a citizen. Your Merida that proves you're the family.
Well, that's where the family writes up the child
Right, but
in
what's the
when it's
name of
born.
it? It's
Merida.
Yeah, but
Ikoyeniaki Merida.
yeah,
Ikoyeyaki Merida.
yeah. So that proves your citizenship. If you're on one of those, it proves your citizenship. So I have one.
Oh,
It proves my citizenship, and at the top it says the mayor of Naupactos declares I've been a Greek citizen from the day of my birth. Basically, that's what it says.
well, that's a rare situation that you
Yeah.
of yours. Most of them are not going to have a Merida.
Yeah, I know they're not. I got one because I was actually registered, but it was all screwed up. So by the time I got my family helped me with my citizenship stuff, they had to give me my own Medina, my own name, because I was an adult anyway, and they had screwed up. It's a long story what they had screwed up when I was a baby. But anyway, but the
Alexis is
Medina,
asking something.
once you have a Medina and your name's on it, that proves you're a citizen. So our contention is, once you prove that chain of your identity, because basically all it is to prove your identity, then give everybody, it doesn't matter where they give you a Medina as long as you have one. If you were born if you came from the Athens orphanage, give it to you in Athens. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. Patrick,
Somebody's mixed up. Wait a minute. Eftychia, they're mixed up a little bit. A couple here in Greece, when they get married, they open in City Hall a file which is called Ikoyeniaki Merida. When the first child comes, they add it on their Merida, on their file, under the parents, right? I think that's the way it goes throughout the world anyway.
Right.
So whenever a child is born, it's added under the two parents that have the file in City Hall, which is called the Merida that Eftychia is talking about. So most of them are not going to have one because they were given up before.
Right.
Or,
Right. And that's why I said we want the Greek state to give you one. If we can prove that whole chain, to give you one in your name now.
Of course, yes,
and
they will.
Yeah, give you one in your name now.
They're going to have to have.
It doesn't matter where they give it to you. It doesn't matter what city it's in. As long as you have one.
No, they will open up for each one of the adoptees that have a Greek passport. They will open up their own Merida, not under somebody, because we don't know the parents or
right.
whatever.
Because you're an
They will
adult.
open up their own. Yes.
If you're not, because you're an adult, you'll have your own Medina. But that's what I say.
They will ask if they would prefer a city, though.
If they do, that'd be great. But whatever, it doesn't, as long as you have one, that's the proof of citizenship. Then with that Medina, you can go to the police, if you're here, you can go to the police station and get your Greek ID. And you could go technically to the consulates to get your passport, because you can prove you're a Greek citizen, your Greek passport. So that it's it's complicated. The complication is just trying to get the Greek state to do what's right and do this the most simple, easy way. And that's why we laid it out like that in the thing we gave them, because it's like, here's an easy way. I mean, how hard can it be? Actually, they can make it really hard if they want to, but Mary Ellen, again, and I think too, everybody wants to know all their story and not just part of it. So I think trying to maybe get the records from the orphanage, from the archives, might not be a bad idea, because I think they do a much better job of that now. That's the only orphanage that does, but they do a much better job now than they did 15 years ago. Or 20 years ago. They do a much better job of giving you your documents. So I think it might be worth that. So after, I have the form to request the document, to request from them. So I can, you can do it either way you want. I can fill it out for you in Greek when I don't have time now, but I will have it in a couple of weeks where I can work on it. I can fill it out for you in Greek. And I can send it to you, and you can send it to them. I'll give you the email and stuff. It does, you can do it yourself, or you can give me you don't have to give me power of attorney to do it. If you don't want to, that's fine. I don't have to have that. It's probably just as easy if you do it and send it. If I make the request and give it to you, and you send it because you send it by email. You send the request by email. They generally send your stuff in an envelope about 6 weeks later from Greece. Like mine came with all these pretty Greek stamps. I saved the envelopes. Because I thought it was cool, but yeah, they'll send it to you. So if you want to do that, I'm happy to write the request.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I couldn't
and then I'll send it to you, and you can email it to them. You just have to prove you're you, that you have to tell them, you know, yeah, if you've got a paper that shows you, if you've got anything that shows you're you, it's fine. That's and then a driver's license or a U.S. passport, you have to have identity. And I'll tell you what, I'll drop you an email and tell you what to do.
Okay,
Okay.
that'd be great.
And
Thank
that way-
you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Linda, I have a question for Mary. Did she get her alien file from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service?
For who?
I don't think I got a file. I have the actual, when my American parents started the request to become a citizen, I do have a paper that has the number on it, and that's about it from
But
the
you
United
You
States.
never requested your complete immigration file from the U.S. government.
No, never did.
Yeah,
Okay.
John's right.
That's a must.
Yeah.
That alien file through the United States Citizenship Immigration Service used to be the Immigration Naturalization Service. You can now request it online, like Linda said. She prefers to do it the paper-based form, but we've been having a lot of success with the online process. It's very fast. You just create an account on their website, request your alien file, not any other documents that you can request. The alien file should contain your birth certificate, your original birth certificate from Greece. It takes about a month and a half because
It
you put
doesn't
on.
always.
Doesn't always, yeah, but it
No.
should. And you'll be put on track 2, which is the complex track. In a month and a half, you'll get your complete alien file. And hopefully,
Okay.
doesn't always, but hopefully you'll get your original birth certificate from Greece in there as well.
And I'll send
Okay.
I'll send the information to you, Mary Ellen. I'll send
Perfect.
the thing. The biggest thing with the paper file is like when you have weird circumstances, like I said, or you have to add something extra. It's hard to add extra things. There's not spaces for some of the things you need to
They've
tell.
changed the website. They've changed the website. I just did it for 3 other adoptees who are deceased.
When did
right?
when did they change it?
As of January 1st.
Oh,
So
well,
I
then
just-
because I did mine before January 1st, so they changed it because I complained about it. Like there's no place to put, you know, extra stuff.
And now you can just say you're requesting it for somebody else, right? Because that's what we're doing. If the adoptee is deceased and their children are doing it, they're requesting it for somebody else, right?
Mhm.
And when you select that option, there's now a field where you can upload any documents that you want, a death certificate or whatever you have to
Okay.
prove that that person is no longer around. And at that point, I've already received my 2 brothers, are both deceased, adopted brothers. Of course, I got their alien files. And now we're doing it for all the other cases that we have
Okay.
where we need the alien file when the adoptee is already dead, is already
That's
passed
good to
on.
know because it wasn't there when I did it. I did it again, like I said, just to see how long it's going to take and what I get. If I get the
Yeah.
same thing or different, you know, I just want to know. So
Yeah, just make sure there's 3 choices when you do it online. There's a second choice where you're saying you're requesting an alien file for somebody else, not for yourself. And
right.
it works fine. It gives you the ability to upload whatever documentation you have to prove your special cases that you
Well,
mentioned
maybe
before.
they realized that their one size fit all thing didn't work so well. So
Exactly.
I'm
They
glad
finally updated it, and now it's possible. So
Right.
we've
Okay,
had
well, that's good to
good
know.
success.
That's
Yep.
good. To
I
know.
was afraid to contact them. I know this sounds silly, but hearing that we were black market babies and it was illegal adoptions, I said, oh my goodness, if I rock the boat, I'll get deported and won't have any country to go to.
As long as you got that
'Cause,
naturalization certificate,
you know,
you don't have to worry. You got
okay.
You're good.
Okay.
The last thing I want to mention, at least for Italian citizenship law, is you have to make sure your naturalization certificate and you're naturalized. Typically, most of us were as minors. If we were naturalized as adults, in other words, after we're 18 years old, we lose our original Italian citizenship. So make sure that the Greek law, I don't know how it's worded, but if you were naturalized as an adult, in other words, after you're 18, you made a conscious decision to renege your original Italian, Greek, or whatever citizenship that you had prior to that. So it's very important to date.
I think the Greek law is different. I think the Greek law doesn't require you to do that because they said they've always had dual citizenship and they.
Yeah, so as Italy.
Yeah.
So as Italy. But they said if you
as long as you don't revoke your citizenship, like if you say you're going to revoke it, then you don't have dual citizenship.
It's considered an implicit it's considered an implicit revocation of your Italian citizenship if you request the U.S. citizenship and you are naturalized as an adult if it happened before 1992. There's a watershed date, which is
I don't
1992.
think that's true for Greece, because I know people that are Greek Americans Greek people that were in Greece, or Greek citizens, came to America, ended up getting their American citizenship when they were adults, and they have dual citizenships.
Yeah, just double check. That's all.
Yeah, we will. We'll look at
Okay.
it. Maybe somebody
Greece
knows.
will allow dual citizenship.
Yeah, they'll allow it as of a certain date. Even Italy allows it as of 1992 forward. If you go,
No.
Greece is always. Greece is always.
We immigrated to the US in 1969, and we had it then.
Okay, then you're
Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go
When
ahead.
I met with my attorney, back in 2018, the first thing she had to do, and I had to call my mom here in Atlanta while I was in Greece to verify from her, is that there were some instances where the adopted parents were given the option to revoke the child's citizenship. And there's record in Greece whether what revocation actually happened. And that was the first thing she did, was she checked to see if there was a revocation, because if there was, then there was no, she said it would make our, well, to me, I'm finding out it's all difficult, but she said make it next to impossible to get citizenship. But my parents never revoked it. And it's on record that they never did.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
another thing, because you got to also realize with a lot of the adoptees from Greece and probably Italy as well, Spain, because while we were all talking, I was looking up scandals in Europe, and
Ireland,
it was clear
Spain,
across the
Italy,
Mediterranean.
Greece.
I mean,
Ireland's got a big one too.
oh yeah. And so a lot of times what these parents did is, I mean, let's be realistic. We're all 50 and above. And there was no concept that there'd be something like the internet and DNA that would come around.
Of course not.
And they didn't even think that travel would be like what it's become today. So adopted parents did what they thought was in the best interest, in the sense that you're leaving that country, you're coming to this one, you're now an American. There's no reason for you to have the citizenship of a war-torn country like Greece or Italy, or Civil War embattled dictatorship Franco Spain. So that's what they did, a lot of them. Then a lot of them, I'll be honest, in my years of research and dealings with people, I mean, you just hear the story and you're like, you believe that? Because it's just like, how did you even get into this country? You know, I mean, or any country for that fact, but that's a different issue. But I mean, the main thing is, if your parents that adopted you revoked your citizenship, I can't speak for Italy or Spain or other countries, but for Greece, I know for a fact, if there's a revocation, you can kiss the possibility of ever getting Greek citizenship goodbye.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because now we have something else to, if that's an issue with it may not, I don't think it's an issue with a lot of people, but it would be an issue with some. We can bring that up, that if the parents revoked it, the child was a minor and the child didn't have any say in any of this anyway. So we can bring that argument up, that like, regardless, if the parents revoked it for the child, that doesn't count. And it shouldn't count, because they were protecting their own selfish interests, not that of the child when they did that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I got it in my head here. So
good luck. We have two cases of parents that revoked the Italian citizenships, and before the Italian government, when the adult adoptees requested their Italian passports, they went to verify across all Italian consulates in the US if there was any revocations, and they found the revocation that the parents expressed at the time of the adoption, and they were denied the Italian passports. So be careful.
Well, that's why
Watch
we want to, you know, as they're making this law, we need to include these sort of things, like to make sure that the people, because the kids had no say in this, so they shouldn't, if, you know, if the child is now an adult and they want their Greek citizenship, we need to make sure something like that gets into that law.
And the Italian government said, yeah, you can reinstate it, but you won't be recognized, which is different. Reinstatement goes through the whole.
Have you made contact with the Italian government for these Italian adoptees in the
Of
state?
course, yes, we have. Yep.
And they're
the
because of the
process.
revocation. Yeah, tell me about it.
The process is that the foreign ministry in Italy will recognize any Italian citizen that was born in Italy on Italian soil, even though Italian citizenship law doesn't go by jus solis, but goes by jus sanguinis, which is blood,
Right.
not
Yes.
by land. Okay.
Like Greece.
But the only case where Italian citizenship law recognized Italian orphans, or quote unquote orphans, is if they were born on Italian soil of unknown parents. In that case, you're recognized as an Italian citizen, and you don't have to go through all that BS that
Right.
most people have to go through to get their citizenship recognized, because
Okay.
we're automatically considered Italian citizens. And we
Do you
have
have
our,
any paperwork that you can send us from Italy?
yeah, it's all in Italian, but sure.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh, if we read Spanish, we can understand it.
Right.
That's what helped me when I went to Italy the first time. I could read all the signs because I know Spanish, and it just, to me,
Yeah.
You're
I
going to
figured
go
out
through
what
this.
they said, and I was like, oh, I'm so proud of myself.
Well,
Up in the dome in St. Peter's Cathedral, it's in Greek anyway.
yeah.
Exactly. We were part of Greece, remember?
Oh yeah.
Well,
At least
Well, the
Campania was. At
Sicilians
least
are.
Southern Italy was.
Yeah,
Campania
Southern
was
Italy.
all-
But I'm from Puglia, so that's Southern Italy.
Oh, yeah.
So you talk Greco, right?
Yes, of course.
Love
Let
those
me ask
places.
this out of curiosity. John, the Italian kids that were adopted, were they primarily adopted by Italian Americans?
Yes,
Really?
yes. That was one of the requirements, was for the Italian government to sign off on the immigration consent forms, because the Italian judge, a tutelary judge, had to sign off the consent form, both for the immigration and for the foreign adoption, because they were not adopted in Italy. Most of us were adopted in the States. Okay. So we
Most
left
of
the
most of you
country.
guys, John, did most of you come through the ISS?
No. About 280 of us came through ISS. All the rest came through Catholic Relief
How did
Service.
you leave
Oh,
Italy?
wow.
We left Italy on Italian passports with their original fictitious names that were given at birth, with a consent of a tutelary judge saying that they gave consent for us to leave
So
the
there
country.
was a judge. There was a court.
There had to be a judge, but it did not always, because there were a lot of black adoptions. The children got smuggled out of Italy, and we have plenty of records of that, of private attorneys like John Barbo, which is similar to your Scopas cases, and he got the kids out of the country without any consent from any tutelary judge, and managed to pay off the officials to get the passports issued, and got the kids out of the country. Okay, there's hundreds of the John Barbo cases. There's 122 of them.
We have
So-
the Buras we had here.
yeah, exactly, same thing. Okay, so the important thing is that a judge had to sign a consent form to let these children out of the country. You can just take a kid out of the country normally, of course, legally. So a judge had to sign off on the consent to immigration and the consent to eventual adoption, if that was the case.
Well, it gives a new meaning to that Greek phrase, una fata, una razza. I mean,
Exactly.
oh, yeah.
Hey, John, so there was a law passed in Italy about these children?
Right now, there was a law passed at the European level, at the Court of European Rights, okay, the CEDU, and it says that all children who were born out of wedlock, unknown, unwed mothers, and blah, 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 now have the right to get any information they want on their birth origins. In other
Yeah,
words,
that's GPGR though. I'm talking about Italian law passed
Yeah,
concerning,
I have-
concerning citizenship.
No, consider citizenship, not yet. We're still
Mm.
waiting for that. And
Okay.
now we're waiting for a new government, so. you know,
Well,
it's
Yeah,
gonna-
I hope we
we
get
might
one.
be too.
I hope we get one too.
Yeah.
We might be getting a new government too. It just depends if they call for elections or not. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're
Oh, I
probably
hope
rolling in. So,
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I keep hearing the same thing. Now, John, you said it in Italy,
mhm.
and Dula, you said it a couple times too, about the attorneys.
Mhm.
The attorney that did our adoption, I'm going to give his name, and I'm wondering how many in this group may have had the same attorney. His name was Spiros Lekas.
Yeah, there's
Or
a
is
bunch that
anybody
had like Teresa had Leckus, didn't you, Teresa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I've seen that name multiple times with just.
I've seen the name Lekas too. Yeah.
because I'm telling you, pardon my French, but from what I've read and the research I've done on him, he was a son of a bitch. And I want to learn more about him too.
He's
I know
probably
it
dead,
sounds
you know.
crazy, but
Well, I don't know how my adoptive parents were connected with this guy. I don't know how he was referred to them, but my adoptive parents were American military. And
Ah.
so they had to go through the US Navy and all of its channels before my adoption could even be approved. So I mean, I find it a little maybe not believable that this Spiros Lekas guy was crooked, but he could have been. Who knows? Who knows? But I don't think in my situation that it was. But again, I don't know a whole lot yet either. We have yet to find anybody else who knows much.
He
The
might
research.
be an honest lawyer. Signing papers for Buras, which was not, you know.
which
what I
Buras?
mean?
What was Buras' name?
Fotios Burras. He was my
Who?
lawyer. Fotios Burras.
Okay, so he's not Takis.
No,
Okay,
no, but we know he was crooked. Just like I have personal proof that he's crooked. So, yeah, there was others too. Lekas was one of them that pops up frequently. What's the other guy's name? Flippeus or something like that. I can't think. He pops up several times. If you came from Ios Stylianos and you went to Texas, you had Dimitris Kazakis, and he pops up all the time with a lot of the kids from Ios Stylianos. So there was a bunch of crooks involved in all. They were all making money, and we know that. So.
well,
Linda, I have a question.
Okay.
So earlier in the conversation, you had mentioned on the application for visa, sometimes you'll see the mom's name somewhere embedded in the paperwork. Is that the document you were referring to?
Yeah, it's the visa application that's in the immigration file. It's for the visa and for the alien registration number. It's kind of a combined application. And a lot of in the document, there's a place for mother's name and where she lives. And sometimes it has the adoptive parent in it for some reason, but sometimes it has the biological parent. So
Okay.
that can be one thing you find from that. It's just that a lot of people don't look at that. So they don't look closely at it in the immigration file, because several times I've had people never even looked at that. They just kind of, it's just another piece of paperwork. They just kind of went through it and they don't know what they're looking at when they see that sometimes. But like in my case, like I said, my biological mother's name and where she was from was right there in that file.
Okay. So I actually emailed you what I received when I sent.
I saw that. I
to-
saw that come up on my phone. So yes, I saw it.
Yeah. So I don't
I haven't looked at it yet, but I saw that where you emailed it.
Yeah. So when I had reached out to them and emailed them, the lady had responded back, "This is all we have, and you wouldn't get anything more in Greece." And I'm like, how do you know what would be in Greece for these papers?
Mhm.
But there are some documents in here, particularly one that in total Greece. I wouldn't even have any idea what it says. But when I go back to some of these records, they maybe you can help me understand, how do they give and assume a date of birth when like the document says she was found in a box?
Well,
Like, where does this come from? Do they research that and find it?
No, a lot of times they will, some of the orphanages had doctors and nurses at them. The Athens Municipal Orphanage did. Mitera they would always have a doctor like examine the baby. So, or Patras, they would have a doctor examine the baby. Meryl and I actually met a guy. Remember Meryl, that guy from Patras that said was it his father that used to examine the babies from Patras? There was somebody. Remember we met him about the time we were at the church. And
Right.
yeah, and he said it was his father or his grandfather. I remember that would examine the baby. So what they would basically do if they didn't have a real birth date, the doctor would examine them and figure out, okay, this child is approximately 15 days old. So they just counted back 15 days and made up a birth date. So if they're found in a box and they don't know how old you are, that's what they did. They always had a doctor at least examine the child, so you'd have some admission condition to put down on your paperwork, like this is how much a baby weighed, this was how long it was this or whatever, and then they just make an estimate about how old the child was.
So then just real quick, lastly, on that same form where it identifies your last residence, is that typically the orphanage that they list?
It can be. It can also be some kids that were in orphanages were farmed out to foster care. Happened a lot at Patras, happened at the Athens Municipal Orphanage, because they had so many kids, it was hard to give kids the care they needed all the time. So the last address could be the orphanage, or it could be a person with foster care, or in the case of some kids, there was one adoptee that I know personally who was sick and had to be treated for something. So he stayed at one of the lawyers' houses, and some woman cared for him, some nurse cared for him or something. So the last address was the lawyer's house. So, or they stayed with someone else, like, they hired somebody to take care of them till they could be sent to America. So it could be, depending on the address, and yeah, it could be the orphanage, but it could be a home that they received foster care in. It could be any of those.
Okay,
What does it say?
It says 11 Papadimandi Street,
Oh my God.
in care of Sarlaka Heraclea.
Oh, so she wasn't a foster.
Sounds like a foster home. That sounds like foster care.
Heraclea, what'd she say?
What's the last name?
Hariklia.
That's
Heraclea.
Hariklia. That's her first name, Hariklia.
That's her
What's
first
the
name.
other name?
Sarlaka, Sarlaka.
Okay.
Sarlaka?
Mm-hmm.
Sarleka.
Sarleka?
Papadiamandi Street is very close to here where I live. It's right up the street here.
Oh. Well, why don't you go check it out, too?
Hey, what's the address?
I'll come with you. When I'm there
11.
Monday, we'll go have lunch and go
Papadiamandi,
check it out.
11.
We'll have lunch and go check it out. We'll walk up there and see what it is. I gotta go to Athens on Monday anyway. I'm gonna see.
Papadiamandi Street,
Well,
yes.
11.
Yes. It says street in Karavas, Patras, Greece is what it says.
Wait, it's not in Athens then.
Oh, it's not in Athens.
No,
It's in
Karavas,
Patras.
Patras,
Okay,
Greece.
never mind.
Yeah.
Patra.
I'll check it out the next time I'm in Patras, which is often. So. I'll go-
Okay, it's the, I
What's
just
a
looked it up.
Caravas?
I just looked it up. It's the Skayopui Leo Orphanage.
Oh. So
In
they're giving
Nikea. No, hold on.
Whatever it is, it's probably not, if it was an orphanage or a foster home or whatever, it's probably not what that is now.
What does
But
it say,
would at least be a
Caravas?
location. Huh?
Say it again. Read it again.
It says 11 Papadimandi Street, comma,
Mhm.
Karavas, comma, Patras, comma, Greece.
Caravas.
That must be the
Mhm.
neighborhood. That must be the neighborhood.
it's weird. I just, it was almost identifying so many different areas and I'm like, what does that mean?
A lot of times you'll have like I live in Pallapanaya, but it's still Nafpaktos. That's the neighborhood. So I live in Pallapanaya, but it's the same zip code of Nafpaktos. So I have to write my.
What's the area of the
address
hospital, St. Andreas?
of the church or the
Carava. It's in Patras, and it's the area of the hospital of Ayos Andreas.
I can't find it.
Oh,
Well, I'll look into that when I get back to Nafpaktos because I'm just right across the bridge from Patra, and I go over there periodically for stuff. So I'll look into that. You sent me the papers, right? So that's in there, right? The addresses.
so yes, yep, this is the file, 31 pages. But you know, when I first started this this adventure for my family, almost 2 years ago, or just about 2 years ago, we had the documents that I had sent you with her passport, and she never had an alien ID number on any of that.
Yeah.
So it was
And
really
sometimes-
difficult until this came, is when I found her alien ID number.
Okay. So you have that now, but that's the immigration file, right? You were able to get it without the alien number?
Yes. So I had emailed Freedom of Information Act, and it was difficult because, you know, you plug in one thing and then I'm like, well, maybe I need others. And then it would only allow me to ask for one item.
Yeah.
So when I
you
had
get the
asked
files,
for her,
yeah.
when I asked for her date of birth or her birth certificate, it came back, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So I believe at that point I was able to actually scan her passport in and asked for adoption records based on that. And that's when I got these 31 pages. So initially they said they found nothing, no birth certificate.
Well, especially when you don't have the alien number, they use that as an excuse to not look, and there has to be some cross-reference. Like if you send them a naturalization petition number or something, if you have the petition number, you don't have the petition, they act like they can't cross-reference that, or they can't cross-reference the naturalization certificate number with the alien number. Like they can't figure, they can do it. They're just too lazy, I think. That's my opinion. But I mean,
It's not an opinion. It's not an opinion. It's the fact. They have an alien index system. I work for IBM, I shouldn't say it, but we manage their alien file, their document management system. So I know exactly what they have and how they can cross.
They have a cross-reference they can do, don't
They
they?
sure do. It's
what I
called the
thought.
alien index system. And from that, you can put in either visa petition number, you can put in the last name of the child when they enter the United States, the name that's on the naturalization certificate, and they'll come up with the alien file number, the alien registration number.
You know what they tell all of us over here if we can't find it anywhere? They tell us
Yeah.
to go to the court or go to the immigration office in your home and let them help you find it.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm like,
BS.
half the time they can't find it either. It's ridiculous.
That's I've heard that so many times now. So it's not
Yeah,
even
I
funny.
was pretty sure they had a way to do it, and I figured they were just too lazy to do it. They don't.
Yeah.
They aren't paid to think. They just whatever they got in front of them, that's what they do. And if they can't find anything, sorry, we can't find any records. I know one person tried 3 or 4 times and finally got their file. So, it's incredible that they act like they can't do this.
I can show you what it looks like. This is a petition for naturalization for my brother. He's my
Okay.
adopted brother. I don't know if you can see it, but
Mhm.
there's always an alien registration number, which is that A number that starts with A and then the 2 digits, 3 digits, 3 digits. Okay, and they'll white out some information. Okay. The interesting part is the immigration and alien registration form that you come in on, which has your visa. Here, your K2 visa, your IR4 visa, whatever it is, it'll give the name of the US consul that signed your visa
Mhm.
in Greece before you left. It'll have the fact that you're a non-quota visa. It'll tell you which consulate you got the visa from, when it expires. It'll give you the name of the person, the passport information, and who issued the passport. It's all in there, okay? And if you keep on going, there's the birth certificate, the consent for immigration, and then finally, this is the form that everybody is looking for, which is the application for immigration visa and alien registration form, or the I form, as they call it. okay, with your I number on it. Okay, and here you typically find any information on the birth of where they resided before. If there's any information on any relatives that were in the country where they left, it will all be in here. Of course, in my brother's case, it wasn't on there, but many times you'll find birth parents information right here in item 7. Okay, so this form, everybody should have it and should go look at it, because there's definitely loads of information in here that you can be gained from this. Of course, if they signed off, who signed off. Okay, so that's all in your alien registration, when in your alien file. If you request it, it's in there. You just have to know where to look.
Yeah, and that's what I said.
Yeah,
that
mine,
people overlook that thing because they, oh yeah, it's all this, and they don't even realize sometimes biological mom's name is on there. You know, I
Right.
mean, it's just, that's why I said, but look at it carefully, because don't like discount that, because there's all kinds, like you say, all kinds of information on there that you can get. So
yeah, I'm looking at mine right now, and it looks just like yours, John.
Yep, that's my brother. Yep.
Your brother's, yeah. And section 7's got 2 dashes, nothing
That's it.
there.
Nothing. Great.
And then down at 28 and 29, name and address of father, name and address of mother, nothing.
Nothing.
No.
There you go.
So that's what I was hoping. Could there be something
I
there?
don't think, I don't know whose cold cuts those were, but they didn't get eaten either.
I'm sorry. Oh, that was
No,
somebody.
I think
I muted somebody who was talking to somebody else.
Exactly.
I sure would like to have some cold cuts.
I
Mayor.
found Papa Diamandi Street
Okay.
in Patras, and the address is no longer there,
Hmm.
or it's changed, but it's all residential.
Which probably, and it probably was mostly residential at that time too, I bet. And it's probably a foster parent. That's what it's somebody was the foster mother or father. But that that person might be possible to find them. Might be possible to find that person. They may still be around.
Okay,
They get
well,
old, but they might still be around.
well, like it could be, and what comes to mind on I forgot the young lady's name. Like with mine, it gives an address. The address doesn't exist anywhere in Athens, nowhere. But it says Athens, and it's nowhere. It could be that it stops at 20. It stops at 17. Papa Diamandi, 17, and that's it. So there's no 11.
But they could have
Now.
redone the numbers
Renumbered.
too.
Correct.
Yeah, they could have renumbered the addresses. So.
Correct. This is where I think a lot of us, even though there's an address on some of our paperwork and what have you, if you go looking for it, it doesn't exist. Because either things have changed, or with mine, for example, it's on Elia Street, meaning the province Elia, not the prophet. And there's only one area in Athens where that street would have been, and it's not there. I wasn't in Glyphada, I wasn't in Pidea, I was in Nicaea, but there's no Elias Street there. So
and again, that speaks to the fact that some of us have stuff in our files that isn't true. And
right.
In your case, that's probably exactly what it is. It's just not true. It is a fake address.
Well, we know in my case what probably happened. But anyway, that's a different story.
But yeah, so you never know. I mean, like and again, I said something about my story not being my story. This is what happens. It's like sometimes when you find your family, you find out that whole story that you knew is not the story that's really true. Like it's almost like I told my husband when I came to Greece for the very first time to meet my biological family, and I started to learn my actual story. I was like, I'm not the person I thought I was. At least the person that left Greece. I didn't leave under the exact circumstances, and the stuff that was even in my orphanage file, were basically lies told by a relative, you know, so it was, and they all conspired to keep it where you could never find your way back. I did anyway, and a lot of other people have too. But and like someone brought up, and I forget who, they never expected us to have the internet. They never expected us to get the Freedom of Information Act. They never expected us to find a way to get there. And, you know, the last laugh's on them because we were finding ways to get there. They still try to make
I found it. I found it. It was across the street. Whatever it was torn down, and it is an auto service shop now.
Dimitri,
Yeah.
you're saying it says Elias Street on yours?
Yeah, Elias.
It could be Elias Iliou, though, which is a very famous street in Athens, a big street.
No. It's we looked it up. It's Eta Lambda Epsilon Iota Alpha Sigma Teliko. So
Yeah,
that's
okay, that's
me.
Elias,
Yeah.
but maybe they didn't write it. You know, they wanted to write Iliou and they wrote Elias. I don't know. Anyway,
Who knows?
Sorry to ask, but in Greece, do you have old phone books or phone directories that you can look up?
We do, and some we can, I don't know.
Not
that they're
anymore.
online. I don't know that they're online, but some of the Greek ancestry, .net.
No, not
has
Yeah,
stuff
not
that's
online. I'm saying
Oh,
hard
that
copy
you can go look
paper.
at?
Yeah.
I don't know. Tula, do you think the GAK?
no,
has-
not anymore.
You don't think
the
GAK has
JK will
copies of all
have,
phone
yeah.
directories?
For sure. I haven't
GAK
seen a hard copy for 20 years, at least.
Yeah, but if you go back into the libraries or archives, you should be able to
Mhm.
find
I'll
old
ask
phone
the,
directories.
that's a good question. I'll ask the GAK about that. Because I have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
talk to them anyway, so.
Because we have
Yes, you
found
do.
we have found phone directories that are either alphabetical or street based. In other words, they're categorical, alphabetic, or street.
Ours is alphabetical, the ones we had.
Only alphabetical. Are you sure?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, we were luckier than we had by category, by street, and by alphabetic. So
We
can
had
go-
alphabetical, and then in the middle, we had yellow pages with the professionals.
yeah, with the categories. Okay.
Yeah, and then it finished off alphabetically.
Okay. So never had street based phone
No.
directory. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Good to know. Thanks.
So, does anybody have any other questions about anything? I mean, whatever you're thinking, say it. That's what this is for. So,
I think
I
Mary-
do,
okay, go
if
ahead.
that's okay. I don't mean to beat a dead horse. I do have a clarifying question. So we've been talking about like getting your birth certificate, but also being registered on some end under both parents within like the Greek, whatever.
Mhm.
Why is it that you have both? You can have a Greek birth certificate, but if you're not registered somewhere under like two parents, you're just like not a thing.
Well, if you have a Greek birth certificate, in some cases, Tula, correct me, like the birth certificate doesn't necessarily mean you're registered, or it does? Unmute yourself.
I'm muted again? Sorry.
I tell you,
God, when you have a birth certificate, that is issued from City Hall.
okay,
So you have been written up somewhere in City Hall that you were born in the area, in Athens, and wherever.
but that doesn't necessarily mean you're registered, right?
No, it doesn't. No,
That's
no,
what-
no.
Okay, yeah, so you can have a birth certificate and still not be registered on a Medida. Does that what you were asking, Alexis?
Yes, but it's really fucking stupid. Why?
Well, listen, they did make a count of what children were born here. Usually the ones that were not going to, it was up to the parents to enroll them.
Yeah,
So
the parent
parents
has to
didn't
add
want
them
to.
to that registration. Like you can go to
Yeah.
declare the birth, that's one thing, but then it's up to the parents to always register their kids. And again, that's what proves the citizenship. However, if we get what we want out of the government eventually, that our passports prove we're citizens and all this other, the whole line of things, that'll solve some problems. However, we still have to make a way for people that don't have that passport to get there too, because they shouldn't be excluded because they don't have a passport. Because maybe it got destroyed, maybe somebody threw it away, maybe they just can't find it, they lost it. So we got to have a pathway forward for people in the future that don't, or at least now that don't have.
Wait, we have another way also. If we have a Greek court deciding where the baby's going, you've got a baby that was born here, right?
Well, yeah, that's true, but we'll have to see how they look at that and what they want to do. But it's got to be written into the law that says, that this is how we're going to do that for people who don't have the passport.
We got around that problem in Italy by going to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because each passport that was issued had to have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs approval. So they have a register of all passports that were issued, even though the passport got.
We don't do it that way.
You don't do that that way? Okay, sorry.
No, here's
Hey,
the
John, I'm going
Ministry
to
of the
tell you what my
Interior.
family tells me. It's the Greek way, Eftychia. Get used to it.
Okay, here the Ministry of the Interior is responsible of citizenship, and the Ministry of
Who issues the passports?
police stations.
Yes, but the police station need authorization from the ministry to issue a passport. No,
Well, we have a ministry of the defense of the police and the firemen. We do have a ministry.
right. And so did they ask them approval to issue a passport for a child to leave Greece?
Not back then.
No,
The whole thing is innately discriminatory because, like, in the circumstances of my family, if you're born out of a product of rape, of course you're not going to be registered.
Right.
So like
Yep.
you're just shit out of luck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fuck
I
you
like
as well.
you.
and
that's the thing.
another case, if somebody tells the parents that the baby died, they're not going to go register it anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah. Although some of those babies that supposedly died have obviously been registered by somebody, especially guys, because 18 years later they get a letter from the military.
Right.
I had a case that we did DNA with a couple of trips ago, that they were twins boys who were arrow baptized, like I don't know, say
George
Constantinos or something. I don't remember. So they were arrow baptized. 18 years later, the parents of these babies that are supposedly dead get a letter from the military calling both boys by name to come to the army. Well, the parents didn't register them because they thought they were dead. Somebody registered them because how did they get on the mail register in Greece that's used to call people to the army? Somehow they got on there with their biological parents' names, but the biological parents don't have these kids.
And we got the same thing in Italy. We got
Yeah.
parents,
In
biological
our
parents.
situation,
Hold on.
situation with our two boys that we are searching for, the first one, when we asked for a death certificate, City Hall gave us a paper saying that this baby was never born. So how can it be dead, right? Okay, so we went to the church because we knew it was baptized. And the priest gives us the birth certificate and the baptismal certificate.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah. So there's many situations. It's not only, you never know. In the cases of unwed mothers, okay, Eftychia was the lucky one that was registered in Merida, but not under her mother's, but anyway, she was. And an unwed mother, which is a stigma in that time area for Greece, they would be, shut off to a big city to have the baby and give it up for adoption usually. That mother would not write up on her Merida anybody, since she knows she's going to give it away anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there would be no point to do that. And a lot of times, like these people that were dropped off in an orphanage with no identifying information, particularly, and not knowing how old the baby, just saying, you know, when the doctor would examine them, that they would normally, in the case of Patra, and Meryl probably can speak to this too, the guy, they called him the janitor. He was actually the gatekeeper. If you translate the Greek word, it means gatekeeper, not necessarily janitor, but that's how they called him. The janitor would go down, and because he would find the babies in the baby box that's attached to the gate, and he would go down and declare their births for birth registration. That isn't exactly the same thing as a birth certificate. A lot of people have a birth registration that actually leads to a birth certificate. It actually gives you like the book number, the page number, and all that the birth certificate is filed, and then you have to go to wherever that place is to get the actual birth certificate. So sometimes they have a birth registration, and then you got to go find the birth certificate. I had a particular one like that I actually was able to retrieve from Keretzini, which is a little neighborhood in Phidias. And so they had a birth registration, and so it said where the birth certificate was, basically what book it was in, what year it was, all of this. But you had to go to Keretzini to get it. So we had the birth registration. I went to Keretzini. We got the birth certificate. The lady, thank God, was very cooperative there and was happy to help. We got the birth certificate, and on the birth certificate was enough information to find the family, because evidently the uncle had declared the birth, had gone down and declared before the registrar about the birth, and his Greek ID number and everything was on there, which is unusual. That usually doesn't happen. And then they were able to track down the uncle and verify with family members through Facebook. You know, Facebook's good for a lot of things, that was actually the family. So, you know, but it's complicated because they have a birth registration, then there's a birth certificate, and then there's a Merida. So you've got all this stuff, which Greeks love paperwork, and Lord knows
So
I
do
know
we.
that.
So do we.
Yeah, well, y'all are basically Greek anyway, at least the southern half at least.
Well, it was giving somebody a job.
Yeah.
That's what it was, seriously. And I just looked at my passport, and my mitro, I'm written in the
Arenon.
mitro arenon.
Mhm.
And that number was, the adoption was complete in April of 72. I was given the mitro arenon number in March 30th, 72. So everything happened within a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
Which tells me it's somebody had their hands in something, and
Quick and dirty. We call it quick and dirty.
yeah.
No
that was
boy,
pretty much how all our
not,
adoptions went. They were
not
quick and
one
dirty.
boy, not one boy is born in Greece that is not registered in the
Yeah.
Metro Arenon.
Right. So that's
And
how
for
they
those of you who are
found
worried
me.
about military service, after 45, you're scot-free.
Well, no, but I might still have to pay for it. But
Not after
anyway,
45, you don't.
I think you do, because
No, I
I
don't think
missed
so.
it. But what I did this last year is in 2018, I found the original birth certificate, not the adoption one, the original one.
Mhm.
And I had it translated. I have an official copy and what have you. And from that, I went down to the hospital that I was born at, and I got an Eftychia. I don't know what you call it in English. I know what it is. It's a verification form.
Mhm.
And they match with the information. So I got the birth record, and I got the birth certificate, and they match. But I still think, as my friends here call it, mufa, which means it's crap. It's lie. It's made up.
Why?
Why?
Well, what does it say on it? That is Mufa.
No, it says the exact same stuff. It matches. The fact that it matches identically, and knowing the period I was born under, it doesn't make sense.
A consistent lie. Hey, at least it's
Exactly.
Well,
I don't get it.
in my case, it was all inconsistent because
Yeah.
there was like forgeries in my file and inconsistencies and all kinds of things. Mary Ellen, you have a question?
Yes, I don't know where that little yellow hand is on the computer.
That's okay. I saw your hand raised up.
Thank you. Are most people trying to get their dual citizenship because they have at least advanced and they think they may be inheriting property? And is that why the government maybe is making it so difficult for us because they get to keep our family's olive trees?
No,
No,
actually, we don't have any
Greek law
rights.
doesn't say anything like that.
Yeah,
Greek
we
law
don't
says
have any real
adopt-
right to, the Greek law says
adoptees
we don't have any right to
right.
inheritance. We don't have any right to inheritance. So, because we were adopted, so we don't really have any right to inheritance at all.
The
Under
Greek
Greek-
government knows very well that the adoptees have no rights.
Yeah, they
So
know
then
that
they would keep the property from our
And the
family.
other thing is too, though, I have run into this again with a couple other people, just talked to somebody today. People, Greek people are really protective of their property. And so when adoptees come back, even though some relatives are really excited about it, in fact, somebody I did DNA and I went to Pityos to do DNA as well this time. And the lady is really looking for her uncle, wants to find him desperately because he was adopted. The family knows what happened to him. Basically, they just don't know where he is. He was adopted to America, they're pretty sure, and they know what orphanage he was in and everything else. But she's had promised her father. Her father had always said he wanted to find, his this guy and her uncle, her father's brother, and so they. Everybody else in the family, though, several people in the family don't want to do it because they're afraid whoever it is that they find might want their property. And I told her, I said that, everybody I know from that's trying to find family has not been looking for property at all. And in fact, most of us, and I don't mean it in a bad way, we have way more than they do. Because I love my family dearly, but my family is not well off here in Greece, and very few people are. Unless you're the Niarchos or the Onassis or you're some famous person, some famous politician or whatever, they don't have a lot of money. And so, I've had other adoptees tell me, but they'll sign anything that says they don't want anything because they want their family and that's it. So I don't think the Greek government's worried in any case about us like coming back and wanting property or protecting the families. I actually think they're more worried about protecting themselves than anything else, because it's surprising that we're getting as much press as we do, that the whole situation is getting as much press as it is, because probably 10 years ago they wouldn't have touched this with a 10-foot pole. The newspapers wouldn't have written about it a lot and all of that. It was not something they wanted to keep sweeping under the rug. And my personal opinion is, and I think several other people too, there's still people in the government whose families were possibly involved in all this back in the 50s and 60s. So they're trying to protect their own. And I think that's the thing. You've got to overcome that thing. Like, and the thing is like the statute of limitations for most crimes in Greece is what, 15 years or something? We can't go back and do anything about that. We can't sue their families. And that's not what we're after. We're after our birth and identity rights.
Our first DNA test came up with a second cousin, which was in Canada, a French guy, and his daughter and his wife was really doing the search. We were talking and stuff like that. We found what the family here in Greece was, and my husband, it's his first cousins. His father's and the boy's father was first cousin, so they're second cousins. They live in the village. So my husband decided to talk to the girls. He has two sisters here. He was the firstborn boy, and it was a dead baby scam. Oh, gosh. And the mother is still alive here in Greece. And when he talked to the sisters, they didn't want to do anything about it and he told me that they were probably afraid of him coming to Greece and asking for what should have been his anyway, because the custom here was at that time, the firstborn, especially if it was the boy, gets all the land and the house and everything. So this is a Canadian businessman who has lots of money. They don't have much money here in Greece, as Eftychia said earlier. Much people don't have that much. They're well off, you know, to live and stuff like that, but not super rich people. And we know who his parents were, and his sisters are here, and the mother is still alive. And it's outrageous that this mother is still alive and will never hug her son, which is in Canada, because the sisters don't want, they're suspicious, like she said earlier, about the land, about why, and he wouldn't probably ask for anything, because for sure he knows, and he's well off. But it's outrageous that the mother is still alive and that the son is still alive in Canada, and they will never meet.
Really sad.
That's a tragedy.
It is.
We have found in my mother's DNA search a young man who lives in Greece. We're here in New York State. He's a first to second cousin, 265 centimorgans. He has shared some family photos. His uncle, who's deceased, looks just like my mother. You know, in talking, and he explained a little bit about his family. He asked me just point blank to keep it quiet, because his grandfather and his grandfather's siblings were all doctors and attorneys in Greece. And they didn't want the family name to go wrong.
That's horrible.
It's heartbreaking.
That is.
It's heartbreaking.
It's horrible.
And in the same breath, to admit that, you know, one of the brothers had a family, a wife and children, and upstairs in the home that they lived is where he said, infidelities with a woman who would come in on the weekends, and it was hush. So you know, there's more to it, but the real fact for him, and I fear in the search, is I don't want to, obviously our search is not to harm families or to you know,
Right.
create bad names, but clarity and some understanding. But it's sad. It's sad that there are people who might know something, and also to know that he also has some family who's still alive in Greece, maybe near my mom's age, or maybe even her own mother, not to be able to share that information.
Well, and that's the thing. Some Greeks will take this stuff to the grave with them. They have sworn on, you know, the head of my child, I'm not going to tell anything ever, and they don't. And that's the sad part. It's like the mentality has to change in some cases, because you know, I don't see it as like a bad name, because every family in Greece has got something like this going on. It's not unusual for a man to especially back in the 50s, to have had a wife and 8 kids, and he had a mistress over here somewhere else, you know, so that's not unusual. So some of the attitude has to change at some point. Some of it has, like there are people starting to come out of the woodwork that even if they gave up a baby, they're willing to admit it, and they want to know that child now. So, you know, it's getting better, but it's still not great, because there still are people like this that do this. And that's sad when there's somebody that close that could be helpful. Mary Ellen?
I found some papers. Are you all referring to, this is the transcribed version, not the Greek version. It was called Municipality of Athens, Municipal Nursery, Historical Archive Office at Rodou 181 in Sepolia.
Yeah, they're not there anymore, but that's not their address now. But because the orphanage, the orphanage is closed, and it's now storage for an art gallery because it was turned into an art gallery, and then they built a new one for the Olympics, and so now it's storage for the art gallery where the orphanage is. But the archives are at a different address. The archives for that orphanage still exist, so they're at a different address. But the orphanage was actually at 51 Perriot Street.
Okay. Well, when I went there, she was the youngest of anybody that I have contacted in the past 30 years. And I was just going to ask everyone, are they noticing that possibly the person that they're dealing with is a little bit more sympathetic than the older one?
I think they tend to be, because a lot, like I told people before, like when you start searching, you have to just be prepared to accept anything that, whatever you find, you got to be okay with it. Like if they don't want to meet you, then you have to be okay with that. If they do, that's great too. But I found like even if your biological mother doesn't want to meet with you, the other relatives do. There's a lot of other relatives, especially the younger generations, like our generation and younger, they want to know their missing uncle, they're missing, aunt, they're missing cousin, whatever it is. So that I do feel like you kind of right about that the younger ones tend to be more sympathetic, because some of the older ones, it's been there a really long time, they sometimes have said kind of rude things to adoptees. Like one lady, was it you, Meryl, where that lady said, what are you doing this for? Adoptee is mother enough for us all. Was that you?
Oh yeah. We were at the Patras General Hospital is where we were. And again,
I knew it was you because I kept saying that's Meryl's, because you told me that story.
We're in the little office of the archivist, and there was another lady there that works there, and they're all talking in Greek, so I'm not understanding a thing. But that lady who was there, who had nothing to do with anything really, that's what she said, was that Mary is mother of us all. So
Adoptee is mother enough for all of us. So basically,
exactly,
your mother.
Yeah. So why are you looking?
Yeah, why are you looking for your mother? Because Mary, Virgin Mary Panagea is what we call her. Is mother enough for us all. And so
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and it's insensitive and it's rude. But she was older and not young like the younger ones. So I think the younger ones do tend to be more sympathetic. The younger social workers tend to be more sympathetic. The ones at the ISS, the young ones there are very sympathetic to us. So I think you're right about that.
I have one more question, and I'm going to go back to our previous conversation. So I was talking to my husband about that stupid thing, and he said, well, can she retroactively declare my mother? Because we met my grandma. She's still alive. Like, does that give us more options towards citizenship? Like,
no,
are we?
I don't think she can, because your mother's an adult. I don't.
Okay.
That was the thing about, I was written on the wrong Medina. I was written as the sixth child of my grandparents. So I look like I'm my mother's sister. And my grandfather had been dead for 6 years. So I didn't know a ghost could come back and make you pregnant. Evidently, they thought it could. So because that was done, we couldn't go and then have my mother declare me on hers because I'm an adult. So I don't think that's possible when you're already an adult. I don't think they can go back and declare your birth that late in the game. I'm not sure. Tula, do you know for sure about that or not?
I didn't get the question.
So we're talking about can a parent, like when you're already an adult, like we are, or like Alexa's mother is, obviously.
Alexis is young. How old is
her mother, Alexa's mother, who's the adoptee.
Oh, the mother is the adoptee.
Yes,
okay,
her mother's the adoptee. I had the pleasure of meeting her mother and Alexis and her brother, and we spent a really delightful afternoon together in Athens when they were here to meet their grandmother. So Alexis was asking about the declaring somebody on the Medina retroactively, but I said I think because we're all adults, they can't do that. I don't think our parents can go back this long after a birth and declare our birth and all that because we're adults, right?
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Was there a court decision here?
In the adoption, yeah, she was present at the court proceedings. She was totally involved in the whole process.
So maybe if she went to court and declared that this is her child, it can make a Merida.
I'm gonna,
That's the lawyer's job.
okay.
I'm not the one to say, but if she went to court about it and she said that this is my child that I had given up for adoption, I don't know what that can do as a court decision.
That might
Right.
be the only thing, but I'm not sure that would even work because they ended up giving me my own Merida because I was an adult and I wasn't a child. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
even though I was
Plus-
declared on the wrong one.
Was that was in Athens, Alexia?
Yes, yeah. But given the current situation,
She has her passport?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
But you know, given the circumstance, her husband she ended up getting married. Her husband doesn't know about my mom. So I think that just might be something that we forego and explore other areas.
Well, I kind of think your grandma wouldn't go to court. I think because that would expose her to public,
Mhm.
like somebody would know. So
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you should wait like the other adoptees that have their passports and the big break that Eftychia is going to bring to the
oh,
Eftychia
stop
Project.
it. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just trying the best I can to tell when they give us a meeting to talk. That's it. You know, I'm hoping, and it's not just me because a lot of you have.
I'm very optimistical about this.
I know you are, darling. Thank you. A lot of you have put input because that document that I wrote up for the formal statement includes a lot of what Meryl said and Nick said and everybody else said when we started talking about this over a year ago. We started kind of meeting a few times trying to because I was trying to pick everybody's brain to see what would be the best things to ask for. And so when we only asked for 4 things, and most of them have to come from different places. Like the citizenship has to come from the Ministry of Interior. The transparency of the records has to come from the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs. A DNA database, which is like, we don't want them to make a new one. We just want them to support us with some help with that because I think they owe it to everybody to do that. You know, that would have to be just something, I don't know, I guess maybe the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, who knows, but there's always a different ministry for everything. And the one thing we asked for was transparency from the government to like it, because basically for the longest time, none of us really existed. We didn't have these adoptees, you know, they didn't recognize us as people or anything else. And as Meryl said so succinctly, that to fix a problem, you got to recognize there is one. So they should have some accountability for what they did. They should have something because this all couldn't have worked without the government. It wouldn't have worked. They had to, like I said, they gave our adoptions the coding of legality. They just weren't necessary. They were all on the up and up. So, you know, we wouldn't have had that. So there's various government areas. To me, the place that has the apology has to come from is from someone at the top. That to me would be Mitsotakis. I don't know if that's going to ever happen. Probably not.
We have a ministry for digital government.
Digital
That's
government
who.
for what?
That's what the ministry is called. The Ministry of Digital Government.
For what? For what issue?
What?
I mean, what
For
issue
the
is that?
database.
Oh, for the database. Okay, that'd be one thing. But we already kind of have a database. We just want them to support it. That's all. Like support with maybe buy us a lot of kits or give us some money to help administer that database to hire someone to oversee the whole thing. You know.
Okay,
So,
I got a question for you that just aroused in my head. Do we have a list of adoptees that have Greek passports?
no, we actually don't.
We need one.
Well, yep, we do at some point. And my contention was, and this is something else I asked for with the citizenship stuff when I wrote the formal statement, I asked that they provide, and they probably won't do this, but I asked that they provide immediate relief for those that were born in the 50s and 60s, because we're the ones running out of time, by making a political solution for us. In other words, to grant us citizenship based on the fact that, you know, that we, all those who were adopted and have their passports or whatever could have a certain time period to apply, and then they would name us all in a bill before the parliament to grant us citizenship by whatever name we have applied with.
That's what I say. We're facing a provision in a bill by name.
Yeah.
That's
So-
what I think is gonna happen. So we need a list
We're
of all the
hoping, we're
adoptees
hoping to
that
get that,
have a.
and then after that, we'll have the procedure laid out for anybody, you know, that later comes, that has the passport and everything, so they can get it done. We don't know if we'll get that, that's a political solution because it's been done before for another group of people. So that's one solution we've looked at. And Stathis Constantinides, the member of parliament, brought that up when we were at the meeting with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He brought up that political solution of doing that. So that's a possibility too. That's why it's important to hold on to the passports and make sure you got them and stuff, because that may happen. That may not happen. We may just have to go through the whole, you know, here's your passport, here you prove this, 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 and this, and then you'll have to get on the Monita and all that. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if it'll happen or not. If you can give Tom Hanks and Victoria Hislop and whatever her name is citizenship, you need to give it to the people that are actually born there. And it's still, and I have expressed that multiple times to all the government officials I've talked to. That I said, you don't know how hurtful that is when those people get citizenship. And we were born in Greece and we're Greek and we want our Greek identity back. So
Officially, you do have the Greek citizenship.
we do. I mean, technically we do. We never technically lost it because they agreed that if we have those passports, we were Greek citizens. We all had a passport to go over.
Of course.
So, you know, there you go.
Maybe we should ask for a list for all of them, though. Maybe they will ask you to provide a list.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll know more after our next meeting what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I got a question. I'm sorry, I'm in the car, but
Okay.
I got a question about
Are you going to
the
Starbucks?
passports. No, I'm actually meeting my best friend for a drink. Anyways, I need it. Hey, after this surgery, I need it. I was looking at my passport, and it says that it was only good for a year to allow one exit and one re-entry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that, I don't know if that's on other people's. I was told by somebody that the passport is fake, which doesn't make sense because they found me
It's not
through
fake.
the numbers on the passport. Exactly, it's not.
It's not
But
fake.
this individual said that the passport was only issued for one purpose, to get you out of here,
Oh,
and that's it.
Yeah, okay, it's
Never
not
to come back.
valid. It's not valid, but it shows that you were born in Greece, and that's what we need.
Exactly. All
None
right.
of those
Well, that was
passports
my
And I
can
question.
be
think part of
valid.
it, maybe the entry exit thing, I don't think it specifically said that on ours, but most of us in the 50s and 60s have a paper in our immigration file that says that the Greek government agrees to take us back if there's any proof of fraud or anything that happened with our adoption, and that they agree to take us back. So maybe they specifically spelled that out, that you can have one reentry because they.
I want that paper. I want
Huh?
that paper. I want
Okay.
that paper.
There's
Find it.
there's a lot of people that have that in their file. I think
If-
I have it in mine, and I know I saw one the other day.
Okay,
Maybe
find
you
that
have it
paper.
too.
I don't have
'cause
that.
We need that.
I don't have that paper. There was
I
no
never
such
paid
paper.
attention before, but my passport does say it expires January 1961.
Okay,
I
it's just not valid. It's the proof that you were born in Greece, though.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, so there's lots of angles we can push in all of this. It's just, the hope is that we just keep pushing. I mean, I basically want them to know we're not going away. We're just not going to go away. We found ways now to make inroads, and we're not going away. It's like, you can not give us what we want, but we're going to keep coming back till you do. And I think in the past,
Plus we're getting bigger.
true, we are. So, as we go along, and more people
I
find out.
I will say this. Over my past, especially the past 3 years, between friends and family and relatives in Greece, the interest has skyrocketed because everybody I know, and maybe it's because of my findings through the DNA, all my relatives in Greece and even my friends in Greece, they look at me as a Greek, even though, and they're like, why don't you have the citizenship? You were born here. You're a Greek. You were born here. And it's like, well, it doesn't work that way.
It's a birthright.
They're like, but you're Greek. Yeah. They're like, they say it should be no brainer. Of course, one of my friends thought he was coming up with something new as an idea to give us. And it was like doing amnesty like they did after the Civil War when Pastor came in. I was like, dude, we're miles ahead of you on that one. I said, so, but they're thinking like that. It's already been done in the Greek system.
Right. That's
Why
like all the
can't
people
they
that
do
ran,
this?
all the ones they kicked out that were communist or leftist. Then there was a bunch of people they named by name, and they gave them back their citizenship.
Well, sometimes
Yep.
things have to be done when there's a lot of commotion going on. And the Eftychia Project is making a lot of commotion in Greece right now. And lots of Greek people are standing up and saying, oh, we lost the baby and we want to find it. And there's a lot of that going on. I don't know how many voices there are in the States right now about, and how many adoptees that are really searching. But here in Greece, I think we're outnumbering the number that is in the States. And there's a lot of people that are searching.
A lot.
And what's
Some of
happening
these
is
not a-
people are coming.
Some of these
There is
people,
not-
like I said, go ahead.
There's
sorry.
not a newspaper that hasn't written about the Eftychia Project. There is not a TV show that has not produced something about, and Linda's story. I don't know if you guys understand this because it's a little difficult, but Eftychia is a VIP here in Greece
I am
anymore. She's
not.
all on. I'm talking now. I got the floor. You are. I'm not talking about Nafakto. Like she can walk around somebody and somebody has seen her on TV and they will recognize her.
Linda,
Because
plausible deniability does not
There,
apply.
there is a lot of commotion going on about adoptees in Greece right now.
Mhm.
And that's the only reason that the government is starting to understand what we are talking about right now. So it's because of the Eftychia Project this is all happening.
Right.
And I'm very optimistic that they're going to move on this. You can talk now, Betsy, I'm sorry.
I'm cautiously optimistic because I don't trust this government or the American government, if you want to know the truth. So I don't trust any politicians at all. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think something will happen. Mary Ellen, what? Yeah.
I just wanted to say to Teresa, the fact that how shrewd the Greek government was, because it didn't faze the Navy at all. The Navy thought it was a legit operation. So I guess I don't feel so bad that my little housewife mom could be scammed in New Orleans, because they just put an ad in the newspaper like we were puppies. They didn't vet any, like money, age, income, nothing. They just were so happy somebody, responded to the newspaper article. Anybody could have adopted us.
Well,
So
this is what I was told, and I wasn't told very much growing up, but I was told two things. One, there's another couple who adopted two babies from the same orphanage at the same time as me, and I'm still in touch with them. I can't get them to join this group, but I'm still in touch with them. The other is, I did ask my adoptive parent one time why they did this and how it came to go to Greece, they, this other military couple. And they told me that the Greek government put out a request to the American government through the consulate saying, we are overrun with orphan babies, come and get them. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I was told.
Good God. Good God. Really?
Well, it's the same kind of thing
That's
in
what I was
San
told.
Antonio. When they started, when that priest and the two crooked lawyers decided to start shipping kids to San Antonio, and there was like 70 or 80 of us that ended up over there. They were telling, the priest was talking about how these Greek orphans didn't have any homes and they didn't have any family. Well, we weren't orphans in the actual sense of being orphans because we had families.
Right.
Maybe some people were, but there were very few that were actual truly orphans. And so the newspaper articles, I think they religiously tried to get those things in the paper because it talked all the time about, Greek orphans this, Greek orphans that, Greek orphans have their first Christmas party with Santa, and they were always, and then there was an article in the paper that I only found that somebody gave me recently who was also adopted from San Antonio, and I had no idea it existed. It said Greek orphans get San Antonio parents. And it was the story basically of my parents going to Houston to pick me up at Hobby Airport. And they mentioned another couple that were picking up their daughter also that week or whatever. And so it's like it was everywhere about these poor Greek orphans. And I think they religiously generated these things to make people want to adopt kids so they could make money. I think they did it on purpose.
Don't forget, back at the time, we also had a monarchy, okay? The queen here was after all the turmoil after the Civil War and, the beginning of the 50s, was searching for allies and investments in Greece. So they were exchanging know-how somehow.
Oh, they got the investment all right.
Yeah,
Especially during the dictatorship, let me tell you.
exactly, yeah.
So, anyways,
Don't think that this has stopped, okay? This has
No.
not stopped even today.
well,
as we
and
speak.
And here's the other thing that I would add. This is not just Greeks in Greece. America has this problem too. It's worldwide. It's not, but because we're Greek, it concerns us and that's how we see it. But I've met lots of people that are adopted. And I think that when those of us who are adopted meet somebody else that's adopted, it's like an instant bond of commonality, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hearing stories of kids from Asia, from Russia, Romania. So it's not just endemic to Greece, but it's a worldwide problem. But anyways, that's just an opinion.
All right. So
Agree with you. I don't disagree with you, but I also think that in our situation, I think it's a little different. And I attended a different forum a couple months ago, and they were talking about all of the babies who had been adopted from Korea. And another military couple had adopted one of these Korean babies, and I grew up knowing him when we were kids. And the difference was that with Korea especially, those babies, a lot of them were children of American GIs. And so America stepped up a little bit and promoted the adoption of these Korean babies. That's not our situation. Our situation is totally not Americanized. I don't disagree with what you said about it happening in other countries all over the world, but I think ours is a bit unique. I don't think, I mean, I had no idea there were 4,000 of us until I met Linda. I had no idea. I knew of 2 others. That's all I knew.
Oh, I think the number of 4,000 is low.
Well, it might
It
be.
can be more. With the
I
dead
think-
baby scam, it can go over 10,000.
I think it's a lot more than what we think. Again, because suddenly I'm getting messages, and the Eftychia Project is getting messages. Sometimes I get them personally. They find me on Facebook and send them, and other times they send them to the project. But what adoptees that are not part of our community, like people that aren't on Facebook, that aren't on social media, and they're finding us somehow. And they're adoptees I've never heard of, because I know hundreds of adoptees, but we keep getting new ones that all of a sudden have discovered something about themselves, or they've suddenly decided they want to search, they want to join a community of adoptees, and they don't realize how many of us there were. So I'm beginning to think that the numbers quoted are low, but for a lot of reasons. For that reason, for the stolen baby scam, the dead baby scam and all that. Because I really think it's a lot bigger than what we know.
Well, how about the possibility of babies that were being taken, either parents were coerced because they were communist sympathizers?
Well, that did happen.
No, we
know
won't.
that.
We don't have those kind. They didn't go to the American. They didn't go to America. They went to the Russian side.
Some did. Some did go to America. To save the babies, you know.
I doubt that.
We're not 100% sure, but we think that's what happened with me. So, but that's a different
What
story.
year were you adopted, Dimitri?
72.
Well, that was in the dictatorship situation.
It was a dictatorship. And my parents were...
Before they left. So what, your parents were leftists?
Yeah, my family's communist.
Okay. So is
And-
mine. No big deal. But
Yeah, no, I don't care. I
they
don't have
wouldn't
this thing.
force a mother to give her child away.
I don't think he's talking so much about forcing as so much as doing
The
it
situation.
to protect the child because of the situation. Like some of
How
them
old
may
were
have
you?
felt like they were compelled to give them up because they were afraid of what would happen if they kept them.
How old were you then?
I was almost 3. I remember things. My story is interesting. And like Linda said, oh, Linda, can I share what I call you?
Yes, you can share what you call them.
I forgot Linda's name as Linda Carroll, so I just started calling her Linda Carter, Wonder Woman. And now it actually has stuck, and she'll always be Wonder Woman for me. But
I love you, Dimitri.
love it. So anyways, mine's an interesting story because my parents were 49 and 45 when they adopted me. And that was against the Greek law. They made an exception. My mom even told me this. So it's really a
Found
fact.
your real parents, right?
Well, I found my biological relatives, let's say. I found first cousins, and they're here in the United States, and they were kicked out of Greece. They had to leave Greece because of the communist civil war supporting
Okay,
and all that.
we left in the dictatorship also, Greece. We came to the States. Okay.
No. Mine were kicked out right after the Civil War.
Oh, okay. That's logical.
My cousins.
Okay, that's logical. In 1972, it's not logical.
No, in it's a little bit more. We'll talk another time on
Okay,
that.
okay.
Because we don't need to burden everybody else on the call. with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask something, Teresa.
everybody, real quick, I need to hang up, but I really
nice drink.
enjoyed this. This was
Good.
wonderful. And
Good.
I look forward to the next one.
Well, in 2 more months, we'll have another because we've been doing about every 2 months. So we'll have to come up with some earth-shattering topic we're going to talk about in 2 months.
All right. Well,
right.
everybody
I need to hang up
take
as well.
care. Nice
I need
meeting
to hang
everyone.
up. Take care. I need to
Take
hang
care.
up as well. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Thanks,
Yes,
everybody.
Dimitri.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Teresa, have you done your DNA test yet?
I have not, but that is on my list. I just communicated with Linda about that this week, about which ones I should order. So I'm planning to do that. I was planning to do it last weekend and I ran out of time. I just didn't get it done, but that is next on my list, is to order those.
Just takes a couple minutes, darling.
I know, but I have a busy life.
All right,
Well-
so we've been going a really long time, which has been great. I've enjoyed it, but I'm really tired because I drove all the way from Xanthi today, all the way down to Kozani, and then all the way back to Thessaloniki. So I'm about pooped.
Well, some of people don't know the mileage that way, the way you say it. Maybe you would like to say it in the US terms.
I'm not sure what the mileage is, but I know that getting this Xanthi is a long way. It's like 3 hours from Thessaloniki, and it was another 3.5 hours to Kozani, and then another hour and a half back to Thessaloniki again. So I'm like,
And 5 hours from Athens? Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I've been, you know that song, I've been everywhere, man. I need to do that song and put all these Greek city names in there if I can figure out how to do, because they do Austin, Boston, they go on and on. I need to figure out how to put all the Greek cities in there because I've been everywhere, man.
One last question before you go. I got something, I don't know the computer. I don't know where I could have gotten this to pop up. What is this Second International Greek Ancestry Conference that's next Saturday?
No.
That's okay. So Gregory Kondos is a young man who's been doing genealogy since he was 15 years old. And so then he then started a few years ago, GreekAncestry.net. And they have tons of Greek records. They have all kinds of Greek records from all kinds of municipalities and all that. You can go on there, and they also do genealogy. They talk about that. They also consult with you about genealogy and whatnot. So they do a lot of that. So the Greek Ancestry, it was really great last year. Nick, you went to it, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. So that's what the conference is, and they talk about a lot of Greek history, a lot of how it relates to people that are doing genealogy, and a lot of it, is helpful for adoptees because they tell you how at one point, and it's probably on their website somewhere, the recording of Carol Petronic talking about how to ask for records from municipalities, like for birth certificates and stuff like that, or old records from way back when. So it's a great conference because they talk about a lot of things that are relevant to us. And of course, we all have Greek heritage. It's always good to learn more. I think they're going to talk this time about some of the Greek wars and different things. They're going to talk about that. There's a lot of stuff they're going to talk about. We're participating in it. We're going to give a little overview of the Eftychia Project for those who may not know about us and about what we do and those sort of things. So we're happy to have been asked to participate in that this year. So
okay, so it's legitimate. It's a totally.
One thing I forgot to tell before everybody left, or some of the people left, and I'm going to put it on the Eftychia Project page. But Greek Ancestry, I got that in my head. MyHeritage has a free genealogy course coming up that kind of does the basics of genealogy and family trees and stuff. It talks about DNA and all of that. I'm gonna attend it just because I want to, because I want to know maybe it'll tell me some stuff I already know, but I think it's probably tell me some things I don't know. So I encourage everybody to sign up for the free genealogy course because why not? It's free, right? It's free. So it may help clarify some of those relationships you guys are looking at, in DNA. It may help you be able to, triangulate some family trees or whatever it is all these genealogists do. So, but I think that's a great thing to do. And I meant to mention that when we were talking about different things, tools we use. But that's a good resource there. And they also have a lot of Facebook Live presentations that are helpful. So you can go to the MyHeritage Facebook page to sign up for that the genealogy course, the free one. And then they're also, if you go back and look at they record all of their Facebook Live things. So there's a lot of those that would be useful for all of us too. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so let's do that. So anybody got any parting remarks to make before we shut this thing down? Nope. Okay.
No.
All right.
Just thanks very much for organizing it. It's always good to see everyone.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, it's
Yep.
I think it's great to have everybody participate like this, as opposed to we just do some webinar where all you can do is chat, because now we can chat with each other and everybody generally has something great to contribute. So I'm very pleased when people come to this, and I hope it continues to grow and get even better as we go along. And if you guys have any topics that you really feel like we need to discuss in one of these Greek conversations, the Greek adoptee conversations, let me know. We'll work on topics that are of interest to you guys too. You know, we don't have to think up all of them. If you guys have something you want to really discuss, tell us, and we'll plan a conversation around it. Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, good to see all of you. Love all of you. Y'all are near and
Nice
dear to
seeing
me.
you all.
So
Good seeing everyone.
we'll see everybody
Thank you.
again, hopefully
Stay
soon.
safe.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Okay.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Kelly Nikta.
Thank you, Meryl.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.